And we're back for another mind map session with a very special guest who likely needs no introduction. Most of you already know that Desi's Board of Entertainment was the inspiration for this mind map. It's in a different format and has a different system, but the intentions and what it all reveals is very similar. There are patterns of rot that can be followed from the bottom to the top. There are hierarchies beyond the entertainment industry and society at large, and she's had her thumb on the jugular of some of the biggest and ugliest heads of the controlling bodies. But she has a lot more insight into these circles. She's the older sister of the music artist Little Mosey, best known for his Blueberry Faygo song that you may not recall by name, but would likely recognize it if you heard it. It was a pretty popular summer jam a few years back. He and that David guy, written as D4VD, you may remember I covered him a little while back. He and Little Mosey had the same manager for a time, one of whom that is currently embroiled in that tragic case of Celeste, the young teen found in David's Tesla. Desi'd been brought to various industry events in support of her brother to help keep an eye out for his best interest, as the darkness was certainly swirling in around him, in pure eyes wide shut fashion.
Seeing my brother witness fame, especially as a minor, confirmed what I already witnessed, the patterns I already recognized, which is the entertainment industry, but especially the music industry, is just a funhouse of traffic stops, if you're getting what I'm putting down. And so often it ends in tragedy, almost by design. When I first saw the initial reports that an impounded Tesla had an unalived individual in the trunk, because I'm like, a Tesla? They got cameras, they got, Teslas are hard to steal, highly surveyed. How are you getting into the trunk of a Tesla? You know, I'm like, I hear in the report that it's the artist David. And immediately my blood ran cold. If it's registered to David, that's looking a little sus. Before I thought about the Tesla, because Tesla somehow is always at the scene of a crime, what truly stopped me in my tracks was the few degrees of separation between myself and David. The common link being David's manager. Last I checked, I don't know about right now, David's manager was my little brother's former manager. Anytime a young child, especially, is ushered into a record deal, but into the music industry, but entertainment in general, you're looking at lessers of evils. Like, it's incredibly subjective to see what a good scenario is. In a scenario where everyone is trying to exploit the creative, the talent, the child.
Due to this and other experiences she's had during her own ventures along the way, she has a much broader frame of reference and deeper insight into these different levels of said hierarchy. Her board had started on TikTok when everything went down with Diddy, but she had attended a party where people like Jamie Foxx were in attendance, and she did see some questionable things. So as she was sharing stories and interacting with the audience, she was building out her board of entertainment, which started out kind of small, but it's now covering an entire wall. Jamie Foxx, Ashton Kutcher, and Diddy were all very close pals in the early 2000s, and we know that Foxx alleged that Diddy had tried to take him out and was to blame for his mysterious illness in 2023, only to later recant that statement, claiming that he was only joking. Make of that what you will, but Desi has an abundance of knowledge and stories to share, based on her own personal experiences and investigations. She's been slowly making her way over to YouTube this past year, but she's planning to dive in head first in the coming months. So please give her an extra warm welcome. Make sure to subscribe. All her links are in the description. And thank you, Desi, for joining us once again. Right on. Hey, everybody. Welcome, Des. Might be a little delay from when it'll finish for you before you'll be... Yeah, sorry. Should have mentioned that. Hey.
Yeah, no, it's a little delayed, but oh well.
From the playback, yeah. But yeah, welcome. Glad to have you back.
Um,
That first time was so janky. Like, I'm just wanted to just keep another eye as we got onto it now, to make sure it was all good. It was more like January, February, so it's been a lot better since. But because it went so messy last time, I just wanted to make sure this went smooth this
yeah,
time. So, thanks for joining us
maybe the
again.
chat can let us know if on there, and it
Yeah,
sounds great, but I'm gonna trust you. I'm like, you know what? We're
yeah,
locked in now.
we're in, we're going. Welcome, welcome, guys. I hope everybody could hear good. Looked like everything was working on my end, but yeah, there's a delay from when you guys see it as well. So if you guys want to just give the thumbs up that it all sounds good. What's up, Cupcake Explosion? Love and Pieces here. Catherine Yandles here. Crow Oath, all the regulars. Hesky Weebo, Danny. Welcome, guys. Give you guys another moment, I guess, two to get in here. I don't know. This might be one of those times where the notifications didn't go out. We were just saying how all the attacks and all the
Yeah,
different weird
I
things that
mean,
can
whoever,
happen.
yeah, whoever can find us, I definitely appreciate you having me on as a guest. You've been so patient with me. I think, I don't know about you, but I would call myself a reluctant oracle of sorts. But I promise you guys, I'm not telling any fibs. I'm coming to YouTube. I need YouTube. All right. Before you guys were asking me to come to YouTube, Tez was telling me it was much better here. I believe you now. I always believed you, but I'm trusting you. And also, I just feel like this is like the last frontier, right? Like the walls are a little bit closing in on other platforms. So
Yeah,
I'm
like
excited to talk.
yeah. I'm surprised you lasted as long as you did, to be honest, over on TikTok for how much of a hard time I had.
It was very Frankenstein. And, I think I was being a little stubborn after my account, my big banana that went down. And I had hit a few buttons, you know what I mean? And that account, I think they knew that account very well. Which is where I started the board. So, and that was on the fly. All right. So Tez found me, so many, of you guys in the chat that are familiar with me and the board and all of that. It's so funny because I feel like any purpose, any calling, it's never what you thought, right? Very reluctant, but we're in a new age now. Don't you think? The veil is very much lifted. All the conspiracies are true.
Pretty much, yeah.
No tinfoil hat needed.
Yeah. No, I've definitely, like, in this past year and a bit, 2 years, has been so much more progress than the last several combined. Like, I know, sorry, guys in the chat, I keep saying it, but it's true. Like, I am seeing, like, significant progress in this last while. So it's happening. Like, it's glorious, but it's overwhelming. But we're here for it, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, so many people have been patient. I wasn't expecting the shock of when everyone can see it, right? And everyone's talking about it. And you finally are like, wow, I'm not the person that's, people are looking at sideways when I say it's all connected, right? Like I'm not making people as uncomfortable when I'm like, well, did you know? And the various filing cabinets of my brain aren't so out of sync with the reality that we're in now, but I didn't realize that was going to be such a shock, right? Like when everyone has the hat on, the tinfoil hat on,
yeah.
and when everyone's seeing what's been before us, and you've spent so much time trying to find ways to connect with people and trying to get them to see it without being too obvious, right? Because there's dangers in that as well. And I remember when I did my story time, I had no idea. I just thought I was throwing one out into the ether, like just like everybody else, right? When he was initially detained, arrested, whatever, taken in. And retelling that, I remember being so off put. Like I know so many people were gonna watch this video or this story time. Like I'm not used to talking like this, right? Or like
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Well, it was
whoa,
like a
it was
wave.
like they
The
wanted
whole
me to be
tsunami.
entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute, this stuff isn't entertaining. I don't want to entertain you. So I think that was like a hard back and forth that I had, because I feel like, so much of the content can be manipulated, can be exploited, or it can be biased or whatever. And so for me, the idea of trying to talk about the entertainment industry, like, I want to be stimulating, but not entertaining, right? And I don't want to be salacious. So this time around with the e-files, I have been kind of more observant, I think. I don't know if you feel this way. And kind of trying to find different angles, because I'm like, I don't want this to turn into JonBenet, right? Where we're not getting any further. It's almost like they kind of tricked us into staying in one side and trying to get people to evolve to see a bigger picture. And I think people are finally there with that particular case, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
with the e-files, I was a little nervous. But people started clicking, right? They started seeing with the e-files. I heard people starting to talk about JonBenet again, and it made me like, okay, I got to get back, because
Yeah.
That's my one thing where I'm like, people start talking about JonBenet, I gotta get to it. So I don't know. Tell me some of your like big passion ones, because I think Brittany, Justin, those are mine. Brittany Murphy.
Yeah.
Scooter Braun, as far as like villains, people that I'm like, I am out to get.
Yes.
Definitely.
Ellen, I've wanted to get
Lou
a little
Taylor.
bit into a bit more. Lou Taylor, yeah, like there's so many. Anne Heche, the Anne Heche situation.
Ellen.
You didn't see that video.
Interview.
Yeah. Well, the video I just posted is some messy Ellen stuff, so I don't know if you saw that, but oh boy, like I'm ready to get into her at some point. But go ahead, sorry.
You might have put that on my algorithm, so I'm sure I liked it. And then, I saw another one, and it was an interview, and I was rewatching the video, right? And I'm like, right? So the places, and the instant download of the red, I was like, oh, we're going down the yellow brick road. And you were like, no, we're going down the red one. And I was like, oh, we're going down the... So here we are.
Yeah. Oh shit, you even cut out a little bit there. 1 second, let me just peek at this. So that's the only thing, is if it does start doing weird shit, I'm just gonna mention it, and we just wait a sec, and it should come back. But no, okay, no, I think we're good. Sorry, okay, continue. I'm just keeping an extra eye on it too, because like I didn't really notice it before, so I didn't even know how bad it was, and then by the time I was trying to like whatever, it doesn't matter, we're past it now. But yeah, like I can go wherever. Pretty much, there is still stuff missing from this map, but it doesn't mean I don't know about it too. So like the Aaron Carter, even I know is like that one. I know is a big one for you, and I feel like that's coming back in a big way because of like the MJ stuff and like how much Kanye's been saying, and like we could go anywhere.
I have Kanye on my notes list that I just jotted down names of people that we were kind of seeing in Zeitgeist again. With new developments, but just throw something on the board, like throw a dart.
Shit. Well, I guess Naomi Campbell, we were kind of starting to chat about that a little bit there just before, and that's like, I feel like the intersection between everything, the files, what you've been doing. It even connects back to like we could even go back into the JonBenet, because I think that's even when I really started paying more attention to what you were doing, because I'd seen some of the Diddy stuff, but then the fact that I was doing the Diddy stuff around the same time, and then I was also looking, like that's when I was just starting to do the JonBenet. So I'm like, you're on this too, like who is this with this wall, like what is going on here? So that's when I started paying attention. So if you want to do JonBenet, we could go that direction.
Well, speaking of Naomi, I mean, I guess like it's all connected to me, so
or we let them,
whatever, right?
We could let the class decide.
Ask you,
but go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, I would ask you, since you said Naomi, did you see the influencer? I might have to look her name up really quick. But the influencer that came out with a story time about Naomi recruiting her.
Ooh, no, I missed that one. That must have knew her.
This was a TikToker. So this is kind of like where the intersections of influencers, TikTok fame, all of that, how that is an engine, right? And so this out of South Africa, I think she's a Kenyan national, but was in South Africa, something like that, maybe, Kenyan, but she was in Africa and she hit it off in the pandemic with, just like making content, whatever, very niche, stripped down raw content. And it was more, kind of geared like when I get famous, right? Like when I get on this, like, like basically laughing like as a person in poverty, being like, when I get rich, like I'm going to be obnoxious type of thing. Like that was the general bit of the joke. Mm-hmm. She did get famous, right? Gorgeous, beautiful, modeling in LA, living out there, and it's taking its toll. And Naomi was in circles with her and kind of took her under her wing. And then the girl came out later and said exactly what we know from the e-files.
Well, tale as old as time almost. It seems like it's like it's a recurring pattern, obviously, right?
Trying to put a leash on her.
Yeah. Well, how many people have tried to speak out about this stuff, like in and around, like even like the Tila Tequila stuff, where she was saying so many things and everyone thought she was totally nuts back in the day. But when you go back and look at and listen to some of the stuff she was saying, some of it was a little bit like, she needed, obviously she was in a distressed situation, but a lot of the stuff she was saying is everything coming out in the files now, right? Like, so was she nuts?
The Getty daughter?
No, but it
was it the Getty era?
No, she was.
Which
she
era
was.
She with?
She was engaged to the heir of the Johnson and Johnson baby company, she started spinning out of control. She went nuts after a Diddy party. She was at a Diddy party with Ashton and Diddy after Jamie Foxx got sick of them. They went off to do their own weird shit at the parties, and then this is when Brittany Murphy just started seeing Ashton, so that's sort of what drove her away. But Tila was seeing Casey Johnson, who, the heir, she was an heir, but the Johnson & Johnson, the baby oil Diddy was using, that's who she died like a week after Brittany Murphy. So that is another weird death connected to Diddy that people don't even realize some of it, Like, maybe you do, or some of the folks in the chat might, but a lot of people, I think it's like, it's not necessarily as common knowledge, until you really start digging into some of this stuff.
Yeah, and well, I think that's like what the mind map really kind of cracks open for people, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like there's no way to separate these things. It's like, no, you have to see it as this web, and that's how they conceal it, right? Like that's the art of the illusion, the deception. But because of when you look deep into Naomi and you see how she's entrenched in global leaders, you see how she was even more protected. And we kind of have touched on this before, and even before we got on the live stream, but about her and Ghislaine being the bosses, right? Like,
yes.
Look at how protected she is.
Here, actually, I'll switch over. Like, there was connections too. Like, she is the connection. Like, Ghislaine was the connection. Like, I'm just gonna flip to the Trumpstein quick here, but she was his connection to the big fish through her dad, right?
And who else is as protected as her? Let's talk about that,
right? And Naomi's been standing out to me like a sore thumb, like since the Diddy stuff and looking into like his prep schools. And thank you Pure Prana. That was a big donation. Thank you so much. That you didn't have to do that. Thank you very much. They just donated $20. They said, thank you for supporting. They're thanking you for joining.
Yeah, we're warming up, guys.
Yeah, just warming up.
I think it's significant to also look at visibility, right? And so she popped out, and I will never forget this. It was like within the last 4 years, but before the Diddy stuff, I'll have to, oh my gosh, I might even search it up now. But I remember my friends and I being like, Naomi, where'd you get that white baby? She just popped out on a red carpet with some baby, and this is post-Ukraine. And we know you've been hanging out with Russian oligarchs, and you pop out saying you have adopted some random white baby.
Oh, that's so perfect too. The adoptions,
and then she disappears with the baby. Never see the baby again.
Yes, the adoptions. We've been touching on that a bit too lately. Is the weirdness with the adoptions within the industry. Yeah, totally.
And then the e-files with the new election, the e-files were back and she goes underground again. Yep. And that's why that influencer TikToker kind of blew up her spot, because there wasn't new allegations, right? There's blind items, there's, all of that type of speculation, but she hadn't been in overt scandal, and because it was on a platform like TikTok where it's highly amplified, that's why celebrities cannot stand TikTok.
Yeah.
Is because something will be highly amplified that you used to have to kind of dig through these old blogs and websites and, you know what I mean, kind of try to save certain things, but now they have a lot of the tabloids even behind paywalls. But I'm like, they used to tell the truth. Two truths and a lie in those things.
Right.
Well, which connects to JonBenet, right?
Yes,
like, I'm like, why did the Ramseys ever sue Star Magazine for saying that there was CP on Access Graphics computers?
Yeah.
They never sued them, but I'm like,
they went the sideways way.
For other stuff.
Yeah, they went a sideways way to shut them down, though, because they still wanted to silence them, but they didn't want to bring attention to it, like Streisand effect, right? They didn't want to, but I know that one's a hard one to find, too, when I was trying to find, like, pictures of the cover and the article. It's around, but it's a hard one to find the actual full article to that specifically. That's actually one of those things that, like, I've still over the years been looking over, you know, in different intervals, like, while I'm taking a look, and that's one that the actual full original article of I know the article you're talking about, the ones with on the computers at Access Graphics. That one is a hard one. You can kind of find the cover and you can find, like, some excerpts, but the actual full, like, on a newspaper where it's, like, the full cutout or whatever, that one's a tough one. They purposely have gone out of their way to bury that and put the focus on their suing being about people blaming Burke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think in the forefront of my mind now, I'm like, okay, we've been inundated with these casualties like in the last, I would say, decade, that a lot of people have been so desensitized against that. When you go back and try to connect, like, who was around these people, Diddy is a central figure, right? Like, Naomi, central figure. I'm trying to think. Oh, Jay-Z and Beyonce too. Those are two people that are highly protected in a way that Naomi is, that Diddy thought for a really long time that he was. And so for me, kind of seeing the visibility shifts between these people has let me know that there is a lot of trouble in paradise. This pressure that people are putting is effective. So I'm... All right, Tuz, guide me through. I don't know if you can hear me, but
I'm sorry, my thing's doing a weird thing again, and I'm just okay. Sorry, I was saying it cut me out that
We're
time.
Skating over
I was
these
saying
things.
Bieber. Did you see the new Bieber? The performance he just did, and it's like they're pushing back. They're pushing back, and he's just like doing his thing and recognizing his younger self, and everyone loved it. Like there was no high production value, nothing crazy. He was just like himself, being authentic, having a moment with the audience, right? And I think we need more of that authentic, genuine, like actual artists being themselves and not being a manufactured, fabricated superstar the way that, like, when you get into the program of it all, right?
I totally agree. I see in the chat here, someone said Kevin Bacon is related to all of this. Kevin Bacon married into the Boston Bronmans, okay, guys?
Tell me more. Go ahead, because I know there's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or something is the joke that he's connected. But go ahead.
I put Kevin Bacon on the board because I found the Boston Bronmans when I was looking at the connection of Bronmans in America, right? And that whole dynamic, right, of global power. And I was like, wait, Boston Bronmans? And it's like a New England, Boston, WASP, blue blood type of society, like first Bostonians or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, it was Kira Sedgwick. She is of that bloodline. And Kevin Bacon married into it. And there's a different Bacon family of the Boston Bronmans, but that's not Kevin's family. But Kevin also has deep American patriot roots as well when you look into his family lore. So his blood was good enough to marry into the Boston Brahmins. But
Interesting.
that's kind of how, as far as I had went. But it's funny, people always ask about Kevin Bacon when they ask about the board, and I'm like, well, you can only say so much because he's in that type of circle. So I mean,
I know
I'm not
people are gonna
making
be
a
upset.
harsh judgment, but
People are gonna get upset about that one because I feel like that's one I do get a question about a lot. It was like, oh, don't tell me Kevin Bacon, or like, don't
Right?
tell me
No, but I
Keanu Reeves.
have
But I'm like, I don't
opinion.
think so. I don't know, but I haven't gone deep into it. But I'm like, you know, he's kind of in there though.
I don't have
Not
anything,
dirt,
right?
like,
I'm
not really
very
dirt,
open
but
with that, where
yeah.
I'm just like, I haven't found anything, but like
Yeah.
that, right? Like, I'm just like, take that just as like just information that I had found.
Yeah.
Along the way. But
Well, it's like
yeah,
they're embedded
Kevin, I don't
though.
have
He's
anything for Kevin.
embedded. It's it's more of like the wild card where there's not necessarily dirt on them, but the association makes it a little more.
Well, I think
you know.
is
I don't know, what does that mean?
kind of like that?
Yeah, he's a little bit of a wild card. There's
Yeah.
some weird stuff about him.
He's at the scene of everything.
At every
but, like,
crime,
I don't have
but not.
anything on him, and he has a
But-
great reputation.
But the stuff with the girlfriend,
His
or it might have been
wife?
his wife, but then the baby,
His wife,
and then the
yeah.
wife, and all that happened, and that was right before he
I
got
look
real
at
famous at the
anybody
Matrix
that
and
has,
stuff.
Like,
It's so Rosemary's Baby. It seems like Rosemary's Baby to me. To be honest, that's what I've felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't usually say that because people always think I'm crazy when I start talking about this stuff, but they don't anymore.
well,
So let's talk about
Sabrina
it.
Carpenter is that way too to me, because I'm like, I'm sorry if you have, well, it's his wife. Like, all right, dude. But it's like J-Lo and her dad. I'm like, her dad was in Scientology before she became famous. Like, what? And that's been highly suppressed, right?
Yes.
And then Sabrina Carpenter and, her aunt's adjacency. I'm like, do not let these people fool you that, like, that degree of separation isn't, like, highly significant. Because even if she wasn't deeply entrenched in the rituals, in the system, they would still utilize her image. Like, she still owes them something for that fame. And if she ever gets into a bind, that will be who she calls.
Yeah. Well, and
Right?
it's the same program. Like, she's sort of one of those products from, like, when you look at the Marilyn Monroe and, like, how Britney Spears was kind of manufactured from childhood, like, the programming that they receive for them to behave later. Like, she's right in there with that same, like, even Ariana Grande, like, there's that certain
Well, yeah, and if you
pipeline,
look at
you
her
know?
entire archetype, right, whether or not you attribute it explicitly or you say that is the archetype that she's embodying, it is that MK Ultra kitten archetype,
Beta,
right? And when you know about MK Ultra and the various ways that they implemented it and all of that, it goes back to John Bonet in the sense of, like, her being described as an animatronic, or like, a robot, a little mini robot, and then you realize that within MK Ultra, when you study it, that was the intent, right?
Yes.
Like, to activate people in these robotic, hypnotic states. And then when she is kind of performing to that, it's very, don't worry, darling, right? Stepford wife. Like, that to me is like, whether or not you're actually under that type of control, or you're normalizing or kind of fetishizing that type of control. Right.
Well, people don't even realize, like, I think more people are awakening to the fact that it is a thing. And, like, for even a long time, I wouldn't even say MK Ultra. I'd say MK, like, from South Park, like, as a joke, but they knew what I meant. But that part of it, like, they know it was a military thing. They know it was used in science and whatever. But I don't think most people can realize, like, that they realize how it went into practical application
How much they
across the board,
it, right?
And perfected it and used it within for religious control, for also military, but like the scientific aspects of it in athletics, right?
Why we in America have done nothing about school shootings? You know what I mean? The level of trauma that is necessary to be an American, right? Like, when you're assimilating or indoctrinated, there's a certain level of violence that Americans are desensitized to, and that comes in different forms, in my opinion. And so for me, it's like these different things, I'm like, that is MK Ultra, y'all.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, trauma-based mind control, that's like the key
that's why
to a lot of
certain
it, right?
things when certain big T-word, domestic T-word events happen, I'm like,
you can say trauma.
Read a headline. I don't need to see the footage.
You could say trauma over here. I know you're still getting used to the language, what you can say here, what you can't say.
Right, yeah,
but you can say trauma,
like,
and I'll say like harms and trespasses rather than like saying like I don't try to do like trauma gore words, like be so harsh about it. But you can say trauma, and you can say like I don't know. You can say whatever you want. I can cut it in post if it's too serious.
All right, you guys, I'm thawing out. Okay?
It's all good. It's all good. Because there's still some limits, but it's okay. It's okay because it's so much worse on TikTok though. So you can still be a lot looser. But I'm still figuring out what's okay because Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just like scrolled the chat and saw John Cusack, and I'm like, that's somebody that's been blackballed, in my opinion, from what I saw. Like,
well, do tell me more. That's why I kind of said you can kind of take the wheel and like whatever jumps out on the map or in the chat, go for it.
A lot of his rhetoric was off script, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of his rhetoric was off script and a little too on the nose, talking about the darkness in the industry. Yeah. And fair. He's then talked about how the phone stopped ringing, right? But he's been smeared as anti-Semitic in a lot of his rhetoric. And that's like a whole nother thing that you can get into. I didn't see it as overt bigotry, but I haven't seen it all. So I'm not gonna, make a sweeping judgment of defense on him. But it didn't give that, right? But there was a lot of manipulation. He just wasn't speaking the line, and he's in the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. So you see who that they answer to.
Yep. Which we can go to that's a good way to put it. Perfect. Big eye. I like that. Done. Sold. Stamp it. Collect it. So there's still it's hard because more and more people are talking about all this stuff, and the noticing, the great noticing is happening, the awakening is happening, so we can they can't silence everyone, so you can speak a little more openly, but obviously still being a veteran in this and having gone through so many attacks, and literally you just went through an attack just before this, having people coming at you and trying to stir up a ruckus, right? But that's what happens when you're doing this stuff, and especially if you're getting close to revealing something they don't want you to, or that you're getting too on the nose.
Exactly, and so I don't have anything bad on John. If anything, he's somebody that's kind of trying to speak up.
Yeah, I haven't done as much research on that, so this is stuff where you're picking up and filling in some stuff that I don't know, so that's cool.
Well, because for me, I with anyone. Right? Mm-hmm. When there's an overt campaign for me to just believe a sweeping judgment, and 9 times out of 10 people aren't bringing me the exact overt bigotry, the receipt with the bigotry.
Yeah.
I gotta go deeper, and then I look at it and I'm like, oh, I know why they want this person to shut up. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a free speech absolutist, but I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Right? I think people should be able to speak however they want, right? And they should be aware of the consequences of that speech. But I'm not too sensitive, right? I'm like, hey, if you're hateful, or if you're doing it as a grift, I hope you mean it, right? But usually I like to know how ignorant people are, because ignorant people are very dangerous. But when I went and looked at John Cusack, I'm like, this isn't overtly hateful speech, and it's not even overtly ignorant. But you definitely don't like it. And it wasn't denialism or anything like that. So I was like, oh, I think this is he's talking too loud about liberation.
I feel like there is different ways they come at people with it. It's in different ways too, not even with just that, just with just different ways they'll try to bring stuff up, or they'll try to go back and dig some stuff up on him. I just saw Bug Hall got arrested, and I was like, oh no, what's going on? Is he doing drugs again, or what's going on? Because I've covered him a lot.
Scared.
But it's something to do with insurance. He just didn't have the right insurance, and he got a ticket, and I guess he didn't show up to court, but he's trying to just live off grid and do his little life.
So he just ran with a mugshot.
Right, but now that it's coming up, people are talking about it again. It's started to circulate again how much he's spoken out, because he said a lot about a lot of stuff in the industry, and that he experienced as a kid. So it's almost the same thing where you start touching. Right? He did, and he went off grid, and he's just doing his little Amish life, pretty much. Maybe not necessarily Amish, but the homesteader thing, right? But it's starting to circulate. And like I was talking about it, I did a video, and he even commented on it. It was like
he looks great. I looked at him immediately, and I was like, you don't look like you're on drugs.
But he's not. He's not doing anything wrong. But the fact that it's like, and he's confirming more and more stuff, and he was more active about it. And it figures when he's like, okay, cool, I think I said everything I need to say. I'm gonna go do my life now. Now they're pulling him out for this silly thing. Like, it seems like the same thing, is that they're like a humiliation ritual, or they just, they want to smear people, or they want to like, and it's because they're getting somewhere, they're bringing attention to something that somebody doesn't want them to, like, each and every time. And it comes from so many different directions too. Like, obviously at the end of the day, it seems like that there does seem to be a big pattern that stands right out in a lot of ways. Like, there's different patterns emerging, but it's weird how I'm seeing it play out now. I guess now that the more I'm noticing it, the more I'm seeing it, you know? So with that popping up there, just like today or yesterday when it was first reported, I was like, oh my God, like, what's going on with Bug now? And of course, it's literally just to smear him, right? So it's messy. It's messy.
Yeah, and to try to, like, skew the narrative on a potential credibility.
Yes.
Because, you know, as much as people are laser focused on the e-files, I'm like, dude, who's been doing the work while he's been out of a job, in quotes? You know what I mean? Like, it's so much bigger than that. So I think taking note of every person that they try to pull out, you know what I mean? Like, whether, you know, even with Britney, it's like, why are you trying to distract us with Britney right now? Please, what's going on? Yeah,
it's such like, and that's another perfect example of like, why are we bothering her now? Like, she was just doing her life. Like, as soon as she steps her foot back in the U.S. because she wants to see her kids, obviously, because they held them over her head her whole freaking time. And now they finally want to see her because they need money, probably, or something. Like, now Kevin's not getting money anymore, and then they come out of the... So she's in the States, and then the second she's here, they start hitting her with all this random stuff. There wasn't a problem where she just was for however long. Was no problem whatsoever. Now suddenly she's here, and she's, like, this huge problem.
And to me, it's deeply manipulative because everybody knows, like, okay, Britney has been alienated from her children, right? And so it was always going to be a potential for reunification at this age. Yeah. And so people that are, in my opinion, exhibiting fake concern for Britney, exploiting her for content, engagement, whatever it might be, right? Like a punching bag as usual. To me, it's like, it's so disingenuous and manipulative to look at the boys now and just assume they're using their mother for money, right?
Fair enough.
Whether or not.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? At a certain point,
it seems like,
right? Like, you know, I'm nervous. Like,
I don't know.
I love Britney, but I'm also looking at it like that might be the only relationship, like only way they know how to connect with Britney on the onset.
Yeah, that's fair. And I want that for her. Like, I want that for her. I want that for her, and for it to be for the right reasons, for it to be healthy. But I think just because of the dynamic itself, obviously what they grew up in was messy. So I'm not even trying to call them out specifically.
And the boys don't even seem like they've gotten therapy, right? So like, I'm with you, right? Like, to me, they get extra agents now. Yeah. But for me, it's like, it's so obvious that they're corrupting what could have been under healthy conditions, right? If we weren't dealing with a bunch of handlers, the conservative, like all of that looming over, right? Over Britney in a ravished reputation. But to me, it's like they always pull this stunt at these milestones with her to keep her under the control of all of these various systems, right? Whether it's the justice system, whether it's, you know what I mean, the entertainment industry, the media using her for fodder. But I'm like, this was always going to happen when her children were alienated from her years ago, right? And then this time was supposed to come, and here they are sabotaging her. So it's like, I never believed the media when it comes to Britney. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so much harder because I'm like, they've been trying to sabotage this, and it's already been sabotaged. So
that's fair. That's totally fair. I guess, okay, like, I've been so, like, for me, the whole K-Fed era, I have strong feelings about it, and I guess it's sort of carrying over to the Sons, but it isn't really their fault. Like, they're just kids in this messed up situation.
Well, it reminds me
so you're not wrong, but at the same time, you know,
time, right? Like, remember when people were like really enraged with me, and I didn't know how to deal with like literally a million people looking at me all of a sudden. But people were upset where I'm like, there's no way that Diddy's sons can be worse than him. Please, you guys. Yeah. He has groomed his children. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they're on a track, but he would never allow, like, you don't understand, Diddy, or what you're looking at when it comes to how deep this web and rabbit hole goes. You're not really looking at the systems, right? If you think that his kids could ever be bigger than him while he's still free. Yeah. And people were saying, oh no, they've done this, they've done that. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But like, that's just not how these people operate, right? And so for me, it's like, I know the harm that can be perpetuated by these young men because of the manipulation and the exploitation and abuse of power that their fathers have raised them to enact, right?
It's a vicious cycle of trauma.
They're still a little bit redeemable.
Yes, hopefully, like having enough time away, and maybe hopefully they've gotten some help, all of those kids, especially the daughters, man, like those twins.
I'm like, they're like, or not even maybe redeemable, but I'm like, they're programmed, they're brainwashed. Like
they can come back from it, maybe. I don't know. Like, who knows though? At that level of programming, that level of control,
but the kids are traumatized too. So as much as Brittany was hurt, or Kim Porter was hurt, or all of the victims of Diddy, and like, all of the people even around Brittany that were hurt along with her, but like her as the central figure, her children, their children, the women that were abused in these situations, their children have gone on to suffer despite being in luxury, despite, exhibiting behaviors or learning survival skills. The kids are also traumatized like their mothers. So it's like, for me, it's so easy to villainize them because it seems like they have more agency than their mothers do. Or, in Kim's case, Kim's no longer here, right? And people want the children to show signs of grieving a relationship they were never allowed to have because of how these types of abusers work, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And it kind of reminds me of like Charlie Sheen's twins and how they were put in between, and there was a lot of stuff that they were having all these behavioral issues, and it was this whole thing. But no wonder though, like think about the type of environment they were growing up in. And those are ones I'm kind of keeping an eye on because they're getting older now, and I think they're almost adults, if not just becoming adults. And I've always worried where that's going to go for them, their mental health wise, because they were showing like the McDonald triad stuff, like harming animals and like playing with their excrement, like all, and like there was a lot going on, and the ex-wife had tried to take them in because their mother was really into drugs, because Charlie Sheen was really into drugs. That's what they did together. But these poor kids had been carted around and witnessed so much stuff as really little kids that by the time they were like in any other environment, they didn't even know how to behave like kids. They were like almost feral children. So now it's like, how is that affecting them? Like, we don't really hear about them hardly ever. Here and there, there's a spotted outing,
right? Like,
it's messy.
It fractures the child mind in development, and that's like, MK Ultra step 1, right? But
like, how intentional is it? I guess,
B,
right? Yeah. Sorry, continue. But that would be my next question. Was that intentional?
Like, to me, like, when I think about like, that type of environment, I'm like, these are like machines for MK Ultra, right? Like, where I'm like, this is just like, you're getting them left and right.
Like, it was all
and
intentional.
That's why I'm like, that's why Drew Barrymore.
Yes. Oh, she's a big one.
That's why she looks like she has a lobotomy now. I'm like, why? They got her.
I don't know. Like, I haven't done the final part of her yet, and I've kind of been waiting because I feel like I just wasn't there yet. Like, she's obviously much older, and it's a different time and whatever, and I was still, like, early in doing these deep dives, and she was, like, one of the first long documentaries I had done. And I have mixed feelings. Like, I really want to believe that she's doing kind of what Justin Bieber just did at Coachella, that's what she's been doing with her talk show, and she's really just, like, working through it. But I don't really know yet. I don't know. I want to believe she's good people.
Like, we have different opinions.
Tell me. Tell me.
When it comes to this, right? Like, we're approaching this so different. Like, not like so differently, but we have different perspectives, right?
Sure.
And so I'm laughing. I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, Tess, this is my thing. Like, I'm going to tell you, like, really easily now. This is where my opinion is formed. Is anybody that was in attendance at Britney's wedding is on a short list for me.
Well, because she's tied with, like you got to think where she grew up, though, and how she fits into the system, how she's had to try to survive, is my thing. Where it's like, surviving. Love your abuser so you don't get abused more, almost, Like, it's a fucked up thing. It's a really fucked up situation when you compare and look at the relationship with her and like the great big iceberg of it all, and even within those spheres, within that sphere, you know what I mean? Like there's so many like Stephen King is a weirdo. Like she was surrounded by freaking weirdos, and she's, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't usually say that one.
But
either,
that's the thing, Tess, is that's why when I like set out and did the board, I had the color code Drew's in green, right? Like you can never
She's a wild card.
who Drew is now with who Drew was as a child and what she went through, right?
Like you're not wrong either, also, but yeah.
You know what I mean? But I also have like a detached of like anybody that was at Britney's, in quotes, wedding. To me is perpetuating the cycle.
You make a good point.
Because
I
who
feel
was
like
huddled around at that sketchy venue? Okay, who was it?
Was Paris
Donatella,
too?
Madonna,
Donatella,
Paris, Selena Gomez.
Oh, Selena Gomez too. Bug Hall.
Drew.
Oh, that connects back to Bug Hall. That was his final thing. He didn't want to work with the people anymore, which was David Henry and Selena Gomez from Wizards of Waverly Place. He was working on them on that This Is the Year, and they had brought a predator on the set, and he thought that they were doing all the extra careful stuff to keep all the kids safe, because there was like 1,000 kids on this night set, this night shoot, because it's supposed to be a concert in the movie. Oh, it's a whole thing. Not saying that Selena Gomez did that specifically, but the production, the whatever, there was a whole mess. That's some stuff that he was starting to talk about, and what, like, that's more relevant to now, you know what I mean? Like, at the time, people weren't really catching on to some of the stuff he was saying, because people weren't as aware. They weren't as trauma-informed. They weren't as aware with the files. Like, this was still a while ago when he was first starting to say stuff, but I feel like, you make a great point, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The long version of,
right, we're
like,
cracking codes, right? And I feel like you're gonna do this to me, like on another time when we're coming together. We're gonna get better at this. But that's why I started grinning.
You're right.
And told you, I'm like, I love this because, you know, like I have. It's so nuanced. It's so complex, and that's why when I started out with the board, I'm like, this story time was me talking about like. It's deeper than that, right? Like this is systems, right? Like we know if Drew is complicit in perpetuating what she went through, or in some capacity something similar,
or
right?
just turning a blind eye. I think it's more of a turning a blind eye to just keep the peace more than actually, you know. But okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to process.
Key, right?
I'm processing as you're saying this.
Different tiers where I'm like, you're a complicit character, right? Like you're a front guy, you're a fall guy.
Well, because then Skipped Parts, she was in Skipped Parts with Bug Hall and Misha Barton, which is a TW Theory movie. Like it was abusive and exploitative by just being in that movie, whether anything happened to them or not. Same with Little Rascals, where Bug Hall had said that he had stuff happen to him. But that's Skip Parts movie, Drew was in that too, and that's kind of where I started thinking like, oh no, Drew, like you kissed an underage boy in this movie. Like this is for a scene of this movie.
Nicole Kidman.
Yes, oh yeah, that's a whole.
You can't remove her from her what she's
could
more
have
been
not good though.
Exposed to.
On the spectrum, she's a little more. She gets a thrill out of the evil more than just turning a blind eye. I feel like though.
See, but I'm just saying, right? Like, but
yes, fair. But on the
you
spectrum,
look into her lore, it's like, whoa.
Oh, it's so much worse than Drew, even though. So I can't even. I'm like, okay, but let's not put them side by each. Like, yes, on the spectrum, 100%, but
you know,
but they're not equal on that evil of like, I don't know. I get weird vibes on Kidman and the shit that's been said. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just making you uncomfortable.
I know. No, it's okay. I'm just processing.
Hold on, pause. Let's pause for a second.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. I'm just.
No, we can get it together because I don't want to do this to you. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, it's totally fine because I know this needs to happen. I've already ruined my childhood like 4 times over with some of the stuff. Like I've ruined like Toy Story for myself and shit like that. So it's terrible. And like Bug's Life, like as much as it's like they're saying some shit, the freaking guy, the main director, and like the guy that wrote it, they're both freaking weirdos. That Joss Whedon and like what's his name, Lasseter or whatever. Like, and do you know what they did? The Freemason Theater, the Hollywood Freemason Temple, was next to where they were premiering Toy Story for the first time. They had a little funhouse little event for the kids, and they liked doing that so much they bought it. Buena Vista Pictures, who did Toy Story, they bought the Hollywood Masonic Theater, so they do it there every time now. And then that's also where they broadcast the Jimmy Kimmel Show from. So
I think that I have the notes on that.
Yeah, I figured you kind of knew.
Because I started doing the Freemasonry
but it's
series,
Freemason
and
huge,
I was like,
hugely, and there's
I
tunnels
started
and the
going
kids.
cross-eyed
Oh my
because I
God.
was like, you guys, this
Yes.
is so deep.
It does. It's like, and well, that's why I thought you'd like that too, because you were already going deeper into the
Remember,
Freemasonry than I was
I
before,
looked
right?
at you and I was like, dude, I'm deep in the Jesuits now.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. Well, like, we can, like, I think at this point, we just have to be very clear that it's like, we don't want any harm or hate or any violence to come against anyone, no harms or trespasses,
No.
but we just want the truth, that the truth will set us free. And, like, obviously, don't even take our word as gospel. Like, everybody should do their own research and draw their own conclusions and, like, make up their own mind, because I think that's the most powerful thing is critical thought and questioning the narrative, right?
I think what brought us together was the fact that we understand that we exist in, as much as I have very complicated feelings about Kamala, I'm like, I say this so often, I repeat her so often about existing in the context, right? And like, the nuance of it all to me is that we'll never defeat these systems of power and abuse if we don't find a way to understand that people aren't just monsters, right? Like you can't just sweep everybody as like, you're a monster and that's it and don't look at it. It's like, how did you become this way? What are the signs?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And who normalizes this type of behavior? Who does stand by? And how much does that come at a detriment, right? There were so many people around JonBenet that like were passive, but also aware that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I saw people waking it up in the chat. I'm very the first person I was ever parasocial with, I guess, if we're gonna use a modern word for it, was JonBenet.
Yeah.
And I get like so emotional when people start trying to villainize Burke. And I'm like, one, it's illogical to make it about Burke because we know that there was a grand jury indictment. They wanted those parents to answer for their complicity and involvement. And
allowing
it wasn't
to
about
happen.
Burke.
There was a few different charges, but it was like allowing for it to take place, basically. Yeah. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. So like, yeah, you enabled something, right? Your
both of
negligence,
them.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
The parents were complicit. They wanted the parents. Boulder didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But
they're
I'm
both
like, they have
victims, like,
successfully
no matter how you
won
cut it.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Defending Burke against it. Why would you go there? And to me, it doesn't make sense because of the signs that Burke showed. If Burke was doing that, whether it's, the essay of JonBenet or the actual,
Yeah, taking her
off this earth.
Taking her off the earth, yeah.
Yes, whatever the details, right? Whatever the outcome, you are saying that was Burke. To me, doesn't make sense. And why would you stop there? How is that the end of the story?
Right.
Because if Burke was doing that, plus the signs, right? They both showed
where's he
signs
learning
of
it, right? So who's like exactly
severe
like yes.
ritual abuse?
Yes.
Everything we know about severe ritual abuse, those children showed. And if he did that, and the fact that he's never gotten, any treatment that we knew of or hadn't for all of those signs that are very severe. Why is our society okay with being like, that's it, Burke did it? What? If Burke did it, what happened to Burke?
Yeah,
Since
1,000%.
I was a kid,
Well,
I'm
he was
like,
doing
okay,
the same
if he's
stuff.
disturbed, what happened to him?
Well, just talking about Charlie Sheen's twins, same. Burke was showing a lot of those same symptoms of obviously something really bad was happening here to that kid, to both kids. There was the physical evidence. It was a prolonged abuse prior to that night. So what was going on the whole time, and then with the Nancy Krebs and there's so many more layers that I don't,
Patsy's father,
the dad,
Patsy's creepy parents.
Go ahead. You take the wheel on that one.
Patsy's parents are some of the scariest people when you look into Patsy's parents. I'm like, that's why they were never on no TV, y'all. Okay?
Yep.
To get real plain, they did not have Patsy's parents nowhere near a TV for a reason. Okay? And what they got from them people in writing is scary. What grandma was saying and what people said about grandpa. Terrifying.
You're so right.
Somebody mentioned in the chat.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Bruce Willis.
Oh, fuck.
And Bruce Willis connects to JonBenet through Aspen.
Yeah.
And those parties, right? The Goldie Hawn parties.
Yes, yeah, and yes.
The Whites.
The Whites, the mother-in-law too, or whatever, and the fucking, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you're so right. Oh man,
And
it does all
to
connect.
me,
It's so crazy when you. But
it does all connect, right? Like no matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And to me, it's wild. And when I think of Bruce and how he's being exploited, then I look over at Celine Dion.
Yeah, that one's tough to watch. That one's a little tough to watch. Like, I don't know if like that's a wild card too, a little bit. But for her, like her situation of coming into the industry,
The
that's
parallels
that's
between
a
those
whole
two
thing.
situations and what they could have witnessed and what they could have known, the liabilities of those two.
No, you're so right. And I think that literally was where, that's where I kind of started really listening. Because I was like, oh, this is stuff that I don't really know as much about. But you were coming right out with the Freemason, and that was more a territory that kind of scared me to even like look deep and talk about it, let alone. And you were coming right out with stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're on it. You know what's up, and like that made me feel more brave to just come out and say more of the stuff I wanted to say about the John Bonet thing and just about the Diddy and stuff. So like, kudos to you for coming out and just saying it like it was, and making all those connections too. Like there was so many little connections that I was like, oh my
That's
god,
how
like I never would have thought of
parasocial
that.
I was.
The
Though.
military,
Remember when
you
that
have the
new
military
documentary
knowledge.
came out?
Yes, yeah.
And I was freaking out. I literally was like, wait, why is everybody on my TikTok algorithm saying Burke did it? I opened the comments, people are saying Burke did it. I'm about to lose it.
Yeah, the waves come through. The waves come through. And it's almost like it seems like coordinated bots. Like some of the weird people coming through at the time. And like, again, chaos agents, but whatever, right? Yeah.
And I knew, and I'm like, and he always does this preemptively. And I was like, and then look at the e-files and look at everything else and just like watch how all of these things kind of go down. And when you go back and like kind of lay it all out, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
How could this not be connected?
Well, and that's overwhelming too, because literally, like, I still have a few episodes to go with that. And it's just,
it blew my
it's
socks
hard.
off
Like,
when I realized.
When you see go ahead, but man.
No, I'm just saying, connecting Diddy, when I looked at, I was like, wait, the Menendez brother connected to the music industry? That blew my lid off. I said, oh, everything's true.
Oh my god, and Jose wasn't even the only guy that was being creepy in and around, and like his friend there, the Edgardo guy, they connect directly to one of these most prolific convicted guys that like 3 times over convicted but kept being able to come back in the industry. This Bob Villard, I'm just trying to find him on the map here. Bob Villard.
Wait,
he was the photographer and the agent and the manager for all these kids. Like the Red Brick Road, like a lot of it, he's a big side. He's his own cul-de-sac on the Red Brick Road. And like the connections I've been making with him and like the Brock Pierce and how that connects back to the Reiner situation and the BuzzFeed. It's screwed up. But Bob Villard and the Menudo, he followed them around and he was taking a bunch of pictures of them too. So he was floating in and around the Menendez brothers and the Menudo brothers all at the same time. Like this whole thing is just becoming full circle over and over again. Passing the baton of
their product, which is humans.
Passing the baton of evil
in
and
multiple
corruption.
forms.
Yes. Whether it's their own damn kids or and this is why I worry about Diddy's kids and like Charlie Sheen's kids, who also is closely connected with the Villard and all that.
Have you seen Heidi Klum and her daughter?
Yes, yeah. I think. No, I might be thinking.
Well, recently they're doing Victoria's Secret campaigns together.
Oh no. Yeah, okay. Well, that's same as Denise Richards though, and then the one daughter, Charlie Sheen's daughter. But yeah, okay.
The ads are overt.
I don't know. It's been such an overwhelming long year, so I was like, wait, what is the Heidi Klum thing? So yeah, I didn't even see that, but it's the same idea, right?
Just coming out, right?
Yeah, the mother-daughter OnlyFans. That's what Denise is doing. The mother-daughter Victoria's Secret. That's so like what? Like, I don't know. It's that almost is pseudo incest. Like it's a covert in a way, almost including each other in that.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, they're taking it there. Now. They're doing it. Heidi's doing it with that's what she's on. She's selling that with her daughter.
It's becoming a trend. It's fucked up. That's messed up.
We're in the bad place very much with that. But okay, when I'm thinking about the connection with Bruce Willis, because people are talking about that in the chat. No. I'm like it's all connected, right? But like I had a thought while we were talking about that, where Bruce, I started getting suspicious because I'm like, we know who Ashton's connected to, Scientology, Diddy, all of that.
Yep.
He had a vendetta with Bruce. Bruce knew a lot of stuff. Bruce knew about Ashton.
Yes. And then
all
Demi,
of this stuff with Bruce.
She's something else.
Demi has her redemption arc or whatever, right? Where she has her moment with the substance. I personally see it as another humiliation, but whatever.
Holy shit, can I throw one quick thing in? Do you know that's who they had? That's how Hollywood and sick they are. Demi is who they had announce the memorial tribute for Brittany Murphy's death at one of the award shows.
They're really disgusting.
That's how gross and sick it is. Sorry, continue.
And so Demi had the substance, and then Ashton competing with her, being obsessed with her and Bruce, then coming out with the beauty, which is biting off the substance, cheapening, whatever.
I didn't even hear about that, so
in
fuck him. I mean, like, obviously he, like, that flopped, because the substance was actually good, and I didn't even hear about his thing, so whatever. Fuck him.
SNL
but continue. I didn't realize. But you're so right, though. He is competitive, and he's so weird that way. Like, what a. But he learned it from Diddy. Like, Diddy was his big, like, mentor buddy that, like, when he first really started getting famous.
And the erasure, right? Like, the lack of creativity and talent, and, like, being so obsessed and envious, and how that has gotten Ashton in a world of hurt over and over and over again, because he's beholden to some really ugly, terrible people, because he is so easy to manipulate. I could be around Ashton for 30 minutes and figure out exactly how I can manipulate him based on how easy he is so to read about what his desires are.
He's just like a down-home country boy that came in and then they wrapped meat around his neck and threw him to the market, man. This poor guy, like, the amount of stuff he's not a good person, but yeah, he's taken for a ride. He's been taken for a ride. You're absolutely correct.
Similar to Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah,
like
yes.
You went through fire, right? Mm-hmm. And you are a deeply flawed person, but I'm not going to be so bold as to say you didn't go through anything. Look at how many terrible things happened around you and happened to people close to you. Okay? But how you've kind of been able to compartmentalize, but we're seeing it unraveling. Look at him in present day.
Yeah.
The charade is up. The mask is slipping. And guess who? In female form, he reminds me of Ariana Grande.
Fair. Yeah, well, because that next, like, they've just improved each decade, I've noticed. Like, it's different versions of the same program, but they're trying to get a better outcome each time. So, like, by the time they got to Justin Bieber, they were doing much better than how they put Aaron Carter through. You know what I mean? Britney Spears breaking down, but Ariana Grande turned out a little better. So when you look, though, at the change of the eras, the changing of the hands, the repeat offenders, and the predators and prey and all of it around, like, you can start to see, like, it's not even, they're not even hiding anymore. Like, it used to be more of a little bit of a hidden program pipeline type thing they had going. But not so much now.
What the heck are they doing with Katy Perry? Okay, you're no longer useful as a pop artist for propaganda and all of what, we can funnel through
it's to
you.
Distract
so
from
now we're
him.
going to put you in space and we're going to put you with the former, Canadian Prime Minister. Like,
do you know why? Can I tell you right now? Because they're trying to distract from the fact that he is starting to be revealed that, like, he had material on his phone and the RCMP protected him and the Toronto Star buried the story. So there's a lawsuit. You guys probably didn't even hear about that. There's a giant lawsuit right now against our FBI and our big main news people, because he's one of them. He's been one of them, and they lied to us and got him reelected. Like, they didn't say anything and got him reelected. It's a whole fucking thing. So in a big way, I think she's a distraction from that. But also, what you're saying, she's distraction from other stuff too. But I think mainly they knew that was about to come out soon because everything's coming out, right? Like, it was all bound to come out, right?
Right?
Yeah.
And isn't it crazy? Okay, so then, take her. Okay.
All right. Yes, sorry. Okay, go.
When I think about, no. But when I think about Katie makes me think about Scooter Braun, and then I think about Taylor Swift.
But the female version,
But I'm just saying, Scooter is a nucleus, right? Mm-hmm. He's around Kanye, he's around Taylor, he's around Jay-Z, Beyonce, and now in the present day, when he's taken a backseat from management, but now he's exploiting who? Sydney Sweeney, who's adjacent to
I
the
gotta-
Bezos, who's
Yeah.
connected to defense, who's, you know, and
Yeah.
it just goes.
Oh, I gotta get
That's
her
why
on
I'm
here
like,
too.
none of this stuff is
Yeah.
disconnected.
There's a lot of the music nodes missing, but like, yes, for sure. Like, Scooters, the big nodes are on here at least, like the Kanye, the Scooter, the Jay-Z, Beyonce,
Yeah.
Diddy, Naomi Campbell, you know, but definitely there's...
Clive Davis, I'm seeing Clive.
Yeah, Lucian Grange is on here somewhere. Like, I've got the big guys on here, but this is where I was like, this is where maybe you can just kind of help with this side of it, because this really is more your sphere, where I've got Obscure Nick comes on from time to time. I'm not sure when we're scheduling next, because they've got all kinds of shit going on, but the Nickelodeon side is still a little empty too, but I, like, this thing is crazy. It's getting crazy, and I think it was always meant to become a group project at some point. Like, once my brain was on there and things started really connecting, like, now it's a group project, right? So sorry, Elton, like Elton John, I don't have him on there yet. I don't have the Justin Timberlake and
threw out there.
But that,
put Elton on the board.
This is where she's a big node, and I've left lots of space around her, and like you can see where there's lots of open gaps on purpose, and like I've started the structure of like the big three companies, and because there's so many just derivatives, like so many of them, it's a lot more of and you already know, like many of them come back to like one big main company, that you think that all these artists are working for all these different companies, but they're all the same company for the most part, like one of three companies, and then where, you know... Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, the big three of music, right? Like if you're just thinking about music, but then when you go over to the names that we hear now in acting, right?
Yeah.
And how small that gets when you go further and further up.
Yes. Yeah, well, and that's where it's sort of been, I've been trying to make enough of a space that between the Disney, Nickelodeon, like this is the Disney sphere, I guess, how it connects in with the movies, with the music industry, with like even fashion and stuff. So that's where I kind of figure at some point the Trump steam,
right? And then you have, and then
connect
it goes
back.
into
Like that's
art.
where Victoria's Secret is and everything. Like I have a lot of that on a map here, and the Abercrombie and Fitch. There it is, the Victoria's Secret, La Zenza, who that all connects to, back to the Epstein and shit like that. So this all connects back to the main map too. Like, so it is crazy that, and even going into like the royalty and like, so I kind of started, I know you're probably even more knowledgeable about some of this stuff, but the royalty overseas and some of the other big power players, like I know eventually I got to get there, but I know you probably, you're even ahead of the game on that, but somewhere in the middle we'll meet there, you know.
Remember when I threw that out, where I was like, I woke up the whole, you know, Robert Maxwell, you know, owned our textbooks at a very influential peak time, and look at him with young William and all of that, and they immediately hit me with a strike, right? I was like, oh, all right,
you hit it.
Y'all aren't ready for that one yet.
Yeah. But and then it'll be different weird stuff. Like it takes time sometimes to figure out, it's like, what exactly did they say that time that got, you know, that caused a thing, right? So sometimes you gotta like, you know, guesstimate, I guess. But like this guy, he comes up on both maps in a big way. I don't even want to say his name right now, because that was, I think, part of what caused my problems. Back in January, February there. That was like the one stream, it was about crypto, the files, and Reiner. And it was a very obvious DDoS attack. Like people in the chat could tell what was going on, and I didn't even, like, I was like, hey, just please hold, I'll wait, it'll come back. And I ended up kind of cleaning it up a bit and putting it back, and like your stream was a little messy, so I kind of tidied it up and then put it back on. But it was that, I think, because that connects to the Bob Villard, and also this stuff. I want to ask you about this. We're gonna maybe not this time.
I'm like, you have got to put Desiree Perez wherever you have Rock Nation.
Okay, yeah.
All of that.
Hold on. Yes. Okay, sorry. No, continue. Don't hold on. I'll get there, but you continue then.
Write down Desiree Perez.
I'm going to, just write it, because that'll be easier, because I don't know where to put it right now.
Make a note for Desiree Perez when it comes to Rock Nation, because Desiree Perez was an informant on Griselda Blanco.
Okay, hold on. Desiree Perez, Rock Nation.
Yeah.
And then one more thing. Sorry.
She got the pardon from Trump.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, because that's sort of, like, I've sort of put that to the side and then got more into this map, and I've sort of been going back and forth. But yeah, like, I wanted see, this is where the
right,
group,
because like
project
that
helps.
is the
'cause this is
connection.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the connection that takes Rock Nation federal, right? Like
Okay.
that's the
Yeah.
immediate, you know, another connection that goes federal into
I gotta
the
get that on
Kushners.
there too, and like the okay, yeah. There's like all these tech companies that it's like I've kind of started putting in little placeholders and stuff for some of these, like, but yeah. I don't even know how much I want to go into it just now because this is
Right.
like I still gotta
That
circle
guy,
back. But you like there's yeah,
because when
yeah,
you gotta
know.
you know, because like when you got Robert right there, when you're doing media and education, then it goes
Yeah.
into Robert Kraft, it
Yeah.
goes into Apollo Global, because they picked up and took over, you know what I mean, the McGraw Hill
yes,
textbooks.
yeah, which that's
And then
so
they
fucked
took
up.
everything virtual, and that
Yeah.
was a part of basically like the anti-intellectualism, basically making our youth illiterate, right?
Yeah.
Leaving the kids behind.
Literally.
And so yeah, that if you so whenever you want to
Go
mind
on,
map
yeah.
out Robert, I can go that way with you. I
Sure.
have that.
Well, we could do some of this live too. Like we could always do other ones. Like there's
Yeah.
definitely one thing I wanted to like. We don't have to go too deep into it, but I kind of wanted to mention because this is sort of where I'm starting to go into. Where I don't know if you remember, you said there was that guy. I can't remember his name, but at the NATO conference, where he had said that they were using serial offenders and criminals, hardened criminals, and recruiting them and stuff. And where I've started finding that red brick road, like the redder brick road, 50 Shades redder than even the overall here, I've been making some interesting connections there. So I kind of wanted to like your findings on that. I know you were reading more into that, so even to go into a bit of that, because I hadn't got a chance to go there, but they're coming up on the map in a big way, connected to some pretty big nodes. That there's obviously that market for that as well, that obviously they want the harm material and the trespassing material, but sometimes they really it's more about the harm itself than the activity itself, you know what I mean? So
well, and I've told you about, you know, one of my faves in this realm of what we're doing here, this type of culture work, is Dave McGowan, right? And so Program to Kill,
sorry,
you know, Program to Unalive.
You could say that.
I mean,
you
you
could say
can find
Program
all
to
of
Kill.
that.
I think that
Program to Kill.
the killing the ending your own life. I talk around a little bit, but you don't have to say unalive. And like, you'll find your way, but it is way more loose than, and you're gonna feel so much better about it. But you can say Program to Kill.
I know. I'm like, I'm getting my vocabulary back.
You're good.
Because I mean that's like one of the things I can't stand. But yeah, Program to Kill by David McGowan. And you know, there's a few, right, of his books, but that's one of the big ones that talks about it. But I was able to kind of research and find which you know, like on another, you know, live, we should go really dive into that. But he talked about it, and I found it under VPN, all of that, and I was like, holy crap. And that goes into the committee, right? Like the 1975 committee, where they like basically touched a little bit on that, right? And then redacted a bunch of it.
I gotta go back and finish this, because like I started that book, I got a good portion of the way through it, but I didn't get that far. I'm like, did they really talk about that now? I'm like, I must not have got that far, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back and read that.
They took it to Italy.
I have it here, I'm pretty sure. Like
McGowan takes it to Italy. He talks about France. He talks about basically.
I wasn't ready yet. I needed to get here first, probably, to go that deep. Like now we're like, the places you'll go, like you said.
And I mean, he talks about all these guys that you got on the board. Yeah, you got on the board here.
Cool. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah.
And he talks about John Bonet in there, right?
Of course. No wonder you kept saying it to me. Well, it's like how I keep telling you about that movie, and you've been kept telling me about this book.
Yes.
I'll make you like a slideshow presentation, like a quick 2 minutes to give you the gist, so you don't have to see the horror shit. You don't have to see none of it. I'll figure it out. I'll do a Desi.
I don't need anything else inviting night terrors.
The gore, you don't need the gore anyway to get why I was telling you to watch it. But
it's
I get
that's
why you've been trying to tell me this.
Too.
I do have it right here too. All right. Cool.
Yeah, you'll gobble it up. You know what I mean? But go back in there.
Okay. Well,
because
Okay, sorry, continue, and then I'm gonna
It's
follow up.
globalized, right? It's
Yes.
very globalized, and it's very much talks about the sleeper cells, all of
Yeah.
that. It's very much in 4K there. Rest in peace, Dave. Love Dave.
Yeah, no, I love his writing style. I love how he just like it's so much information, and he's put it together
And
so well.
he's with
Like, I aspire to be that good at it, you know.
part.
And yeah, like I love that it's like first yes, it's very my speed of what
He
I like.
doesn't
in a writer.
politicize it.
Yeah, it's to the point. It's just flat out. It's not no fluff in your butt or circle jerking or any of the other shit that some of these guys do.
Yeah, we got a little bit into on the podcast before the hiatus. I got a little bit into the Knights Templar. We were like dipping our toe in. I'm like, they come up along the way. I mean,
I got too far. Okay, I got like 200 pages in out of 320, so I almost finished it, but I got distracted doing something. I don't know what I did, but it's been on the shelf. I've been reading it. I didn't
see what
totally
sticks out to you now. Yeah,
I've been doing it. Okay. So that's interesting because they all came up in this other book I was reading from some other research that tied to some other people that I'm still kind of working out how to kind of get around it. So it might even be like a pre-recorded segment that we'll do, and then we'll wrap it into a live or something where we'll play it, or I don't know. But some of this is just very like, I also, because it's trauma almost just for some people to hear this stuff because of where it goes to, and it is really a lot. And like for me, I don't know, like for you, but some, like I almost had to find the balance because I was going so deep in some of the research, especially with the Jomini and some of the stuff, that it was affecting like my appetite and my sleep and stuff. Like it was starting to like cause
1,000%
shit, right? And like I don't want that to happen to the viewers.
Like what kind of sent me into the hiatus that I was in.
Yeah,
because
I figured. Yeah,
you know,
it's part of it.
It's all of
it's a heavy
that, right? Like when you stare into the abyss stares back, and there is a level of, I feel like, corruption, right? Like that's like the more you go into it and you're not like, they push you further down the rabbit hole, right? And to me, like kind of coming up for air, right? Like even when you're, I imagine scuba diving, right? Like going real deep, like you have to come up at a certain point. But like you can get lost, right? Like you can just be like, no, I'm gonna push it. But you have to come up for air. And I think what always kind of brings me back is realizing no matter which direction you go in, you're gonna find your way, right?
Dark,
so I try not
time.
to stay in one direction. I try to hit it from different angles because that keeps me from consuming too much of the stuff that they kind of want you to be traumatized about early on,
like pummeled with it, right? Exactly. And so I'm trying to be mindful of that too in the way that I present it and the way that I'm like, you know, like, because if it's as a seasoned veteran, and same for you, like as a seasoned veteran in this, to be so physically affected, I think it's like obviously we don't need to be part of the machine that's keeping more of the trauma. Like I don't do
doing it for
trauma
so
gore.
long,
I don't do well, that's what I mean, like a seasoned veteran in it, right? Like you know enough about it, you know what you're going to find when you get there, but even still, it is so horrifying that even knowing what's there, finding out and confirming, it's heart-wrenching, it's devastating, it's overwhelming. Well,
you see it in other places, right? You see how it's perpetuated on a large scale, and I think that's kind of what makes it, when you see the nightmare everywhere, that's where it kind of gets dangerous, right?
Well, all these red dots,
still trying to find the bliss, right? Like we are still in the human experience, which means suffering, but not this suffering, right? So kind of reining it back and allowing myself to take a deep breath and realize we're not superheroes, right? One, first off. But two, going back to history sometimes is what I'm learning, what keeps me in the work, right? Sometimes I'll find a new angle with pop culture that seems distant from the actual nitty gritty of the capital I industry, the big I industry. But also when I really need to like numb my mind, but I'm never done learning, right? Like I can't turn it off. I go back to history, right? And I recollect, I guess, that, whoa, we've been doing this over and over again in different ways. And capitalism has been the driving force of this type of commodification of human beings. And so on my channel, outside of, you know, kind of like my bigger picture, I want to add some of that in, right? Where we'll talk about modernity and what's going on and, you know, the malice that we're up against. But I think going back and really kind of understanding how we got here as a civilization is important too, to kind of supplement through of like, this didn't happen in a vacuum. We're not the first people to be dealing with this type of continual machine.
Yeah, well, now I know why you kind of laughed at me when I was saying, oh yeah, going back in history, and I was talking about Shirley Temple, and then I saw you're down the demi mode, and you go like all the way back to like the ancient Chinese history, all of that. So like everybody in the chat, all you guys, that's definitely something to check out in the meantime as she's getting over here and getting more about the board and stuff.
Yeah, and I have a lot more planned for that.
Inning of the Six Happiness,
I don't think
that movie, Inning of the Six Happiness, is what it reminded me of. That your section when you're talking about ancient China and stuff, and I'm like, that movie changed me when I was a kid. Like, I saw that shit, and that shit changed me. Like, realizing some of the shit kids were going through, like, then, like, that, going into that kind of history is so important. Like, if that's what you meant when you were talking about,
it's ingrained in our genetics now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this type of trauma, this type of exploitation.
The forced subservience, the exploitation. Yeah, absolutely.
The ritualistic behaviors, right? That across culture.
Yeah.
And, you know, these types of reoccurring patterns, how they come up. But I think for a while I struggled with like, how do I connect these, or how do I understand, like, show people the mission, right? Because usually people keep these things separate, like history, real crime versus true crime, and, you know, turning conspiracy theory into critical theory. To me, I'm like, I kind of want to do it all, right? Like, I kind of want to show how, and
you will.
Like, you know, you kind of blew my mind with the whole, like, going down the red brick road. To me, it's like, it's all connected. And I think to kind of supplement and to also make sure that we don't end up dehumanizing a certain subject, right? Like, as much as I love JonBenet, I also try and am very, very mindful about how I talk about her.
Yeah.
Just because it's so deep and because people get so lost, and I'm like, and it is harrowing.
Oh,
it is
so
harrowing.
Sad. It's so bad, and it's so sad.
And it's not just her, right?
No.
Like, it's not just this one girl. It's what she represents to me, if that makes sense, right? Like,
no, 1,000%, and I agree in a different way.
If it can happen to her,
the same. Yes.
What does that mean for everyone else, right? Yep. Like, that's where I think people don't look at JonBenet. I think a lot of people look at her as like, oh, of course everybody talks about her and obsesses over her because she's a young white girl, and, you know, this is a big distraction. And I'm like, yeah, you choose their script to talk about her. Yeah, it's a distraction. But for me, looking at her, why she's always stood out to me is because if they would do it to the epitome of a young girl, right, under all the right ingredients of who should be protected, and this is how she was treated and exploited.
All the time and money programming and preparing and grooming, and I like...
Yes.
Yeah.
And the network around her to
like,
basically...
we're gonna need a stream just on this. Like, another stream just on JonBenet.
You know what I mean? Like, the way that she was basically raised for the slaughter, like a little lamb. To me, I go back in history and I see how young girls, that was in existence for young girls, right? Yeah. And for so long. So it's like, whoa, okay. You know, this isn't so foreign. And I feel like people are so disconnected, and they think that, like, because we're in the present day, connecting Britney to a ballerina from the Regency period isn't that far off for me, right? Yeah. Like, I see those two things as very connected.
Yes.
Right? And that's kind of where I have turned over a new leaf, reclaimed, had an ego death, in so many ways to get back to the work, but also make the work sustainable, right? Yeah. Because I'm like, they're not going to get me. They're not going to get me, but I don't want them to shut me up either. So
yeah, well, this is where you got to kind of toe the line in such a way, like. I've had to battle with this too, of like, well, I don't want to just be like one of those, like, I don't want to just be do the YouTuber thing, like in the structure of a certain way, and I don't want to just, and like you had said earlier too, like I don't want to do the scandal and the glorifying of and sensationalizing of the stuff. I want it to be able to be like a where objective, break it down and understand it in a deeper level, and raise the awareness about the trauma and the effects of trauma, and like how addiction, to change the conversation around addiction, because if anything, that's just a symptom of trauma. So why are they doing that to begin with? Like with Nick Reiner, why was he at 18 different facilities?
And a tool,
why,
right? A tool of oppression.
There's so much there. Like,
and
he looked like shell-shocked at 7. He looked shell-shocked at 7, and then hard drugs by 14 or whatever, in and out of rehabs, and then allegedly, possibly, potential prime suspect of the double homicide of the parents, right? So what does that tell you? You know, it's very Menendez brothers. And yet Reiner is a wonderful Wizard of Oz, and he can do no wrong. But when you start looking at the map,
Go ahead. You hear how the Menendez brothers talked about their home life experience, and then you literally go back and listen to the words that Nedra Pa said herself. Like, people are waking up in the chat. Thank you. I'm like,
they know. They're smart.
Of course. Like, if there's speculation that a child was abused, it would make sense with the way these people are talking. But also, if there wasn't, I would be concerned a child was abused with the way these adults are talking.
Well, you'd think they'd want to find out that, if there was prolonged abuse, who within our circle was doing this to my child? I would be running the crusade across the board and up the mountain, down the other side 2 times. If I found out on the autopsy of my child there was a prolonged, vicious, heinous crime, heads would fucking roll. Pardon, like, I'm trying not to get too heated here, but literally, heads would freaking roll. So the fact that he was so, like, anyway, sorry, you go ahead. I'm getting heated here.
No, lackadaisical, nonchalant, right?
And
passive,
the child, or whatever how she says
are.
it, Patsy, man, fuck. No, they're couple pieces of work, the two of them. But sorry, continue. I got a little fired up there, but
no,
seriously.
and that's how passionate it is, because it's like, to me, it's like it's right in front of your face. But as a child that survived that type of, you know what I mean, environment where, you know, I know how people get away with these things, but I also know how many people were aware of the warning signs and ignored them when it came to me, right? How many kids are ushered like me, who's already abused, groomed, you know what I mean, under the control of a predator, and then that predator is like, oh, you're really cute, let me take my pet and parade my pet and go see if the world thinks that my, you know, pet is, you know, a commodity, right?
To get the approval.
Actually got scouted, right? I could have been on Nickelodeon. And when you get these kids that are already abused, then their abusers take them into these environments. And I've shared a story on my old account about my casting experience with Nickelodeon at 6 years old, and remembering sitting on a casting director's lap. Right? Alone, away from my guardian, right? After I had gone through all of the rituals, all the rooms, and looking back at it with a healed but adult survivor's mind, and being like, oh, that was to see which one of these kids was the cutest, but had the least boundaries. Who was the cutest with the least boundaries?
Well, they definitely, like Bug Hall, actually, just not to keep going back to him, but he has been kind of a recurring guy. He had mentioned that it's almost like they have a sixth sense for people that are vulnerable or have had some kind of trauma prior to entering those rooms. Like, it's like they can sense it. They know. They just know. And then they'll target them. And that's how he felt targeted, and from a very young age. And like, they had him out there in his undies, running around in his undies on a iceberg, Steven Iceberg, I guess,
with all of the sexual innuendos between children.
Well, and this was where I wasn't sure if you were going to want to go too much into that, and then I didn't really mention it in the intro and stuff. Like, there was certain stuff I didn't know too much if you wanted to circle back to it or not, but like, that's a whole nother realm to get into on this side of it, which is still like, it's a pattern. It's a pattern on both angles, but like, that almost seemed like quite a little bit intentional from like they were like how you just put it, right?
Every step of the way, I'm like, why do I have all of the ingredients? Okay, not to get too woo woo, y'all. But if you write it down on paper, what was going on here? All right, something else, right? Something else is going on here. Too many things.
You look at how many predators were just in that sphere too. Like, I've started kind of piecing that together, and again, like, because it's a little more empty, but it's a little more the big nodes, you know, like the most
and we're
important
dancing
ones so
around
far.
it.
But
I'm like, you're adding...
there's so many in there already. Like, I don't know if you can see this already. There's because of the delay on your side, but like all the orange ones are like victimized, and then the blue and the pink are like they were
I could
predators,
read
right?
the
Like, you know,
core,
and you've got the thing. You've got the. I think I've got it up on the chat thing too. I forgot I added that in there. The coding or whatever. But yeah, like
now I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, I'm getting it
like,
right. Yeah, I'm getting it right.
Yeah, let's tie some meat around your neck and throw you to the wolves. Put them right on the lap of a vampire and a serpent or a weasel or a friggin' parasite, man. It's sick. It's sick. And when you really start to look at how much more common it is, I think there's a lot of people that are, even just with the map and just with their own thing, like a lot more people are starting to realize how not alone they were in a lot of this, how prevalent it was, how you literally could throw a rocket anywhere in Hollywood and hit a predator, basically, you know. It's that bad. It really is that bad. People want to say, like, I think it's more isolated and that it's a little more... you know, it just happens sometimes and you can't prevent all of it. People want to say different things. But when you really start looking at the pattern, because basically all these red dots, aside from like 4 or 5 that were adults at the time, but they probably knew some shit. But all of the red dots are people that died way too young, accidentally or on purpose. And the ones with the... I've started coding that by putting the black font instead, where they very intentionally ended their own life. So like when you just start looking at that overall pattern here, like that's why I wanted to send it to you too. Like just have a look at the map updated as it is now.
Well, I love that you
some other stuff that will jump out.
Categorized interests here.
Which right, like because some of them it's and just to start getting like why are there all these little girls that are dead in this sphere? Oh well, look at all the predators, you know, or the young guys.
No, exactly. Like that's where I'm like, because you can start seeing the MOs and the ways of acquiring who's in proximity to be groomed. Like, it's much easier.
Yes, like this has changed my life.
I appreciate the people in the chat that were like, "Oh, I'm glad you're okay." I don't even know, dude. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I think it's the one thing that I've told Tez before. I think they really messed up allowing me like all the ingredients, but they let me read a lot, and I wasn't censored when it came to reading. And I think that that's the huge aspect of why certain programming, though it was effective, right, it didn't take a hold and it didn't fully break my mind in a way.
Yeah, which you're such an intellectual, and I think that's like the one thing that you've got. You've been able to turn it against them in a big way, and I think being able to alchemize is so powerful.
Dissociation. So the more that I looked into MK Ultra, I'm like, dissociation. But because I had such an imaginative mind, right, on top of that, as I was dissociating from a young age, I believe that is half the reason why I was able to like really make it through. And so then the more that as I got older and I learned about MK Ultra and hypnosis and like the different studies and all of that, I was like, oh, it makes sense, right? Like this is good and bad, right? And then you woke up with me where you're like, oh, you're a system. I'm like, oh God.
I thought you were such an advanced system that you were so self-aware without being self-aware. It was incredible. It's incredible. Like it's amazing what the human mind can do.
Like,
yeah, but it kept you safe, and this is why you're so smart.
You got me on my foot on that. I was like, I cannot argue with you.
You loved Fight Club as a teenager, and you're trying to tell me you didn't. That part you didn't know. It's awesome though. Like the human brain is like limitless. It's so incredible.
Right.
You know.
I'm like, and we're still capable of learning about ourselves because I was like, I can't deny that. You actually present data that, okay, actually, because I think that, and I think
in
that's
a good
where
way, right?
Surviving is. Well, that's the only way that you can survive, right? Is if you kind of become that. And I have to be very, very mindful, right? Because I'm like, on paper, I learned, though I have my own experience, right? I read a lot about targeted individuals, right? And I'm like,
And I think you're so right about that too, because I'd actually never even thought about the reading aspect of it. Like, I'd always was like curious about information, and like I was just kind of trying to think of like, well, why did none of the shit that like the certain programming and things that were happening for me, why did it not stick? And it probably was a lot of like the reading for myself, the looking into stuff, where like, because there are a lot of people where they've gone through it, but they've been able to break through the other side, and this is where I've kind of really been trying to feel it out too, and through these discussions and through these, you know, revelations, and with Obscure Nick too, which I'm hoping at some point maybe we can get a group chat or something sometime, or have him you come through when we're on live, or vice versa or something, because it's like kind of all on the same level too of trying to get over onto YouTube. They grew more on like Twitter, where you've grown more on TikTok, but it's all kind of in the same realm of like with some of the experiences and different revelations, and just kind of like really coming to light with how this all is played out on a greater scale. You know, it's not such a one of the last ones we were doing. We were starting to get into some of this stuff, but I feel like it's been a similar experience. Like, I feel like it's starting to come up a lot more, and it is a shared experience in a lot of ways. Like, it might look different, it might be a different setting, scenario, different rooms, but a lot of it's the same kind of stuff that people go through within the industry, or they observe it, or they witnessed it going through. It's like you're either a perpetrator, a victim, or a bystander, you know? Like, it's a really tough, it's like a battlefield, you know? So I've been finding more, I guess, people that like you or I that have sort of been in this, doing the thing, and kind of searching through, and it's sort of a therapeutic for our own stuff that went on as a kid, and trying to figure out our own you know, pick it apart for ourselves and have a better understanding to be able to reconcile with it, and not let it break you, right? So, because as an adult, I don't know if you're
like
noticing,
somebody said in the chat,
like, I don't know if you're noticing that, like, as you're, you know, 30s especially, like, how much stuff it all clicks, right? So I think it's so even more important to have these conversations.
How much my brain was finally like, all right, you know, all right, you're allowed to, like, you know, certain, you know, it's just, you know, the synchronicity of how things happen. But also, and last year was the biggest test of that, of denying, right? Like, I believe I was given a purpose, right? And that's an ever evolving, developing, the clarity is forming on what that genuinely is. But you know, when you're being pushed in certain directions and you're resistant to it, but then being resistant is also crippling, right? And so for me, it was like, I see these things, I see these patterns, and I have so many people that when I talk about these things, people want me to keep developing that, right? Like, keep talking about these things, put these things together. We want to hear more about your mind. Being resistant to that almost took me out, right?
Yeah.
Also. So that's what brought me back. That's why I I'm
sorry.
Really went in the dark.
I would have never come out and even said it like that if I didn't know that you already knew, but you seemed to be so very aware. Like, it just seemed that you were very aware, and that's like, we were having conversations that were as if you were aware of it, but you weren't, and it was, I don't know. I would not have just come out. I don't think I would have came out and said it like that if I didn't know that you didn't really, like, I thought you were just fucking with me, to be honest.
No, but I feel like that's
for real,
like,
and had I known,
the veil,
like, because it is so delicate though, because like, you never know how a system's gonna react if you're a threat to the system. Like, I might have been coming off as a threat to your system there for a second, and I feel bad for that. Like, I never meant to, rip the Band-Aid off, like a, shit.
Yeah, but you're a veteran, right? Like you said, so you knew exactly, like, you knew how to handle that. But you did catch me off guard. I remember being like, "Wait, what?"
Well, I'm a system too, so I get it.
You explained it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you want to explain it for the people in the chat, but you explained it to me, and I was kind of like, I can't really argue with you, and I would, right?
Fair,
like, I'd be like, wait a minute, hold up.
No, and I have no problem.
Like,
I love the debates
it, right?
too. But I guess if
so
you
share for the chat what a system is, and like,
I guess
where that comes from, because I think that's a part of what we're talking about.
Well, I think that's still an area they don't want people to connect those dots yet, but the best way that I can describe it because that's actually, I'm finding out why I had a hard time putting this Amanda Bynes video up for a while there, because I was really going into it.
I was going to say her name!
But,
oh my gosh! Okay, you had it right there, and I was
well, and this
we're
is
talking about a system.
We could get into the Nickelodeon,
in a system.
And I think with Obscure Nick has been somebody that's revealed a lot of stuff and has been more of the insider for the Nickelodeon side, and then you having the crossover the Nickelodeon, so that's kind of what I was thinking about it too. But the Amanda Bynes and the dissociative aspects of the trauma, just trying to think how to say this. We've kind of talked about it a bit because, like, Raven Simone has started talking about it. Like, more people are starting to talk about it more openly. So, but basically, okay, it's like a computer partition in your brain that your brain becomes so. The trauma is so severe and so complex in childhood that your brain has created a partition to hold that trauma for you and create a benchmark. Like, it's a partition. Like, if you think a computer operating system, it's a separate partition, and your brain has found its way to operate around that as best and safely as it knows how. So somewhere in your mind, you know that that thing happened, but for the most part, it's shielded you and enabled you to. It's like if your family got eaten by lions, say we're villagers 1,000 years ago and your family got eaten by lions, how are you going to survive and keep on mentally witnessing that? For example, your brain has developed over time as a self-preservation technique to create partitions. And in different scenarios, sometimes it's co-conscious, sometimes it's not, but in every sense of it, it's to protect the vessel, to protect the human, to protect, and sometimes there's more partitions depending on how much more horrifying or severe or prolonged or complex, and from starting how early as a child to and how long it continued. Sometimes there can be more partitions than others, but a system is generally put in place as it's a self-defense mechanism. It's a self-preservation, and if anything, it's a higher level of intellect that's worked its way around dealing with trauma that's not just healing like a bruise heals, and it's that's a different thing and not to compare. But I don't think people realize how much even just psychological trauma, like psychological violence and emotional violence, all of these things. The grooming aspect
is psychological violence.
Yeah, there's so many more layers that some people don't even realize that's a trauma, and I think this is all stuff that now that we're able to talk about it more, we can start understanding some of these mental unwellnesses that happen as a result, or just mental, not like a mutation, I don't want to say mutation, but a mental, like a partition, divergence, yes, perfect word.
Yes.
And that's how we've been able to evolve and continue on over time through so much trauma throughout time. But in some ways, they've used that knowledge against us, where we probably could have been a lot further ahead in the mental health system if we could be aware of the full spectrum of that. But being that is a part of a step in the MK Ultra programming, like basically being able to break someone down to a point of splintering and then going in and reprogramming some of those partitions, they can install their own program. Because the splinter is created, and if they can get into it at a certain time, that's where the programming is most effective, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to go too detailed either, because I'm like, we're gonna get in trouble here. So
right.
I don't know. Like, we're probably more okay now though. Like, I'm still figuring out where
we're skating over it. I feel like pretty well.
But if you want to add to that,
I'm being serious. But I think that this is the extra layer, because if more people sat with themselves, and we've been given so much stimuli and so much consumption that we've been separated from our ability to even get anywhere near there, right? And that's why we have a lot of the self-medication, a lot of the repression that causes further abuse in our society, is because of how far removed we are from our true inner essence, right? Like psychologically, we've been split, a lot of us, but some people don't even know how split they are. And I think that and being able to kind of like recognize how easy the mind is to break, and how little we know about the mind, but what we do know about the mind, how exploited that has been, right? To control it. Right. Yeah. And
like, it's intentionally
the more you look
broken.
Into that, the more you see it everywhere.
Yeah. And it's all on purpose, it seems. Like, the way that the systems like to silence the victims and to conceal the abuser, to protect the abuser in such a way, when you really start to break it down. And it's one of the weapons used against us. And it's the one thing that
so many people think like, aren't we supposed to protect children? Like, we're not supposed to do this to women. But I'm like, everything else that we are, like, in our society, we say one thing, but what is the action? And the disconnect between what is said and what is done is what discombobulates people, right? And you basically start going out of sync, but along with the beat of society, right? In a lot of ways. And that to me is like this disorientation that allows them to get a lot of their illusions off, right? And and you're not even distracted, you're taken into a liminal space of reality, right? Like that's where the simulation is in a lot of ways, is all of this other programming that distorts what's in front of us. Because to me, when I'm looking at all of these, you know, various systems, I'm like, people are so confused about the e-files or the idea of, you know, videos that are created, that are real, that are at the root of all of the e-files, right?
The harm and trauma material. Yeah, the trespass material.
Accessing graphics. What graphics do they want to see?
Yeah.
And the way that has escalated, right? The taste for these types of images, the taste of that has gone to extremes, right?
Yep.
Stranger than fiction. And how we've been desensitized by this, but so many people are like, well, how could this be? And, you know, all of that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like we've been doing this for so long, right?
Yeah, like it's nothing new.
We don't actually care.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And like the more that we're able to stand in that and to point out when we exploit people, when we dehumanize children, like when we rob children of innocence, we'll be able to see how prevalent it is, right? Like how much our boundaries are stripped from us and how we are programmed to normalize certain things and be indoctrinated. Once you start critically thinking there, anything is possible, right? Like we're going to crack all the codes, because like nothing about our society says it protects children, period.
Yeah, like actions speak louder than words. They can say it all day. Well, it's
so I'm like, can we stop clutching pearls and can we get to the drawing board, right?
Yes.
Can we throw some of these people in the gulag? Like, can we get serious about it? Otherwise, the shock, it's energy harvesting, right? Like, if we just like exclaim, how could this happen? And it's like, well, I could tell you how this could happen. But it's like the pearl clutching is what really kind of think almost broke me, right? Where I'm like, good golly, we have so much evidence. Please stop, right? Like, am I broken because I'm no longer at the point of clutching my pearls? And a lot of us have gone through so much that we're like, it's almost like I feel more normal knowing that this is, you know, this system, this continued cycle that we're under. But in my mind, it's just like, we have to take a step further. We have to take it a step further. Because I'm like, the pearl clutching is what almost took me out. Where I'm like, why am I even doing this work if we're just repeating this like sensationalism?
Yeah, well, because it's just been like that. And it's like, when you look back to so many of the things they tried to label as a hoax, that it's like there's just so much we need to go back to like fully review based on what we know now. Because the whole history, like from like the 80s, 90s, I feel like especially like we're at kind of a peak time of really putting this stuff into practical application. And then by now, you know, by the early 2000s, 2010s, like it's only getting worse in the way of them getting better.
I'm just looking at Boy Meets World. Now, like you just had that, like, I don't know about the delay, but I'm like, Boy Meets World. Like,
like, well, that connects back, like that. We could go just on that in the
Brian Peck, all of them,
Fred Savage, Ben Savage, the whole thing. They connect to the whole den of it all. This whole. It was an operation. It was a very in-your-face operation, and that was before the E-Files or Epstein. I think we can say Epstein. I don't even know anymore. But that was an operation that was the same idea, but out of a mansion in Hollywood, and they were doing like, it was like the cover was they're doing this like teen content. It was supposed to be the precursor to Netflix, and they had all these big investors. And I don't really want to go too far into that though, because that was part of what got me in trouble there a couple months ago or whatever.
I'm like, it's like whack-a-mole, right?
Yeah,
like Pandora's box version.
But they all connect.
Of whack-a-mole.
Ben or Fred Savage or whatever, or Ben's one of the Savage brothers was like in and around this sphere, and like I feel bad for them to an extent, but then it's like once you get to an age. Oh, DiCaprio, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go back to Growing Pains.
Yeah. Oh, you want to go there? Okay, yeah. Where are we? There it is.
Is like, you know, an evolution of, you know, and then
Brian
and then
Peck.
Seventh Heaven and like all of that.
Brian,
All right,
where did it go?
sitcoms.
Shit, I lost it now. Oh, there it is. Brian Peck connects to that, and he's one that's been in out of jail a few times. And then, like, he got out of jail for harming Drake Bell from the Nickelodeon side. As soon as he gets out, he's hired by the Disney side, and he's on that Sweet Life of Zach and
And
Cody.
you mentioned Bob Ballard, right?
And Bob Villard, yeah, he is
Villard,
connected.
yeah.
Villard, sorry, yeah. He's connected to Peck and like through with Charlie Sheen and some of these big people. But Growing Pains, there was another guy that I didn't realize. I thought it was Brian Peck and DiCaprio, but this Steve Marshall guy and this other person, they very intentionally at a quite young age, on that Growing Pains show. So that was all very in the same sphere. And so there's just
Now I'm
where
seeing
there's
his
smoke,
color too, yeah.
there's where there's smoke, there's fire, right? But then the ones that made it out and where they're at now, like when you look at DiCaprio and some of the favorites of Bob Villard that still made it and still made it, like that are still with us and are either an active participant or like this is the person that I'm kind of trying to dance around because I think that's who got my attacks the last time. I don't really know for sure, but I kind of deduced it. I don't know. But when you look at the ones that just sort of were like, they became the evil that trespassed against them, and then the ones that just couldn't stick, they couldn't deal with it anymore. You know, they couldn't live with the pain anymore, or they just, the self-medication wasn't enough. And I find it's a lot of more of the young guys that end up overdosing or ending their life because like there's a lot less support I find in that sphere. Like there's no,
like
you're not
Aaron.
a victim. Like just suck it up, be man up, whatever, right? Like Aaron Carter. And there is a pattern, like who it all connects back to, and like they were very much just surrounded, and obviously the little girls too. And I want to get more into that side of it. Like I have started filling that in a little more, but I feel like that's a conversation that's already being had more so, where I don't think people realize because a lot of them don't live to tell the tale, you know. And so for the ones that do, we need to be more supportive, like with Justin Bieber, with Zachary Ty Bryan, and for the girls too, like for Ariana Grande, and for, you know, the ones that we know are trying to exist in a system but are under a victim program, and then there's ones that are under a predator program. Do you know what I mean? Like eventually there's, you know what I mean? If you're not saying anything about it, then you're on one side or the other here, or you know what I mean? So I don't know. This is where it's going, and I know you've already kind of been going down this, and like you have your experience personally and just from what your research and everything. So at some point I knew we were going to circle back, and I do apologize if, you know, you did end up kind of in a bit of a tailspin with everything kind of coming together there. But I kind of went through it too when it, you know, clicked, and I get it. And it's maybe it's the way it was meant to happen too. So I don't know. I don't want to maybe overthink it either. Right?
Yeah, well, definitely that. But I think also a huge part of it is a part of the gig, right? Like once you're in this work, you realize that's just a part of it in a lot of ways, right? And so I think endurance is necessary, community is necessary. But I was gonna ask you, I was curious, what do you think about all of this Jim Carrey stuff? I want to hear from you on that.
Okay, yeah, all right. I think that it was just like a little publicity stunt, that there was an opportunity to do that, and I was pretty certain it was a stand-in, and I didn't actually circle back to find out if that was confirmed or not, but somebody had said that yes, they had a mask and they went and did a stand-in for the award, because he basically was done with Hollywood and done playing the role of Jim Carrey like 10 years ago. He even said it, like, I'm done shaking my boobies for Mardi Gras beads or whatever, like that doesn't exist anymore, Jim Carrey doesn't exist anymore, or whatever the shit he was saying, right? Like he was very open about that, and he was calling it out, like on Jimmy Kimmel he called out the Freemason shit like way back when. He's like, you know what I'm saying, and he was doing the all mocking ton.
I was scared.
Oh buddy, like yeah, so I think he's just so far removed. But okay, and then so I know you have your feelings about Drew Barrymore, but I feel like the way that she's been saying stuff to maintain her safety and sanity is through her work, her productions, where the movie The Stand-In that she did, and you don't have to go watch the whole thing, but if you even just read the synopsis or whatever, but she basically is saying how easily they replace people in the industry if they want to, because once they have the image and once they have the name and once they have the product, and we already know there's stand-ins, we know that there's stunt doubles, we know that there's, like, you know, so because people can't necessarily, like, if they get sick and there's a big award show or something, somebody's got to go and do the award and do the speech, you know, like certain things like that, right? So
Body doubles, yeah.
I kind of was leaning more that way about it, because he's a very expressive comedian, so I don't think he would get face work done to that degree. But I mean, I don't know, because like every day it's like I'm brand new sometimes with some of the things coming out that I'm like, oh yeah, okay, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, like I'm learning more things, and it's becoming different confirmations that even I'm sometimes surprised that I didn't even think that far ahead of it, you know, like where I'm already kind of, you know what I mean? But yeah, you go ahead, you tell me what you think then, because
No. I don't know, and I think you kind of made me feel a lot better. When I was initially seeing what was coming out about it, I was like, this is off, because to me, we would never see the character of Jim Carrey again. But I never want to think that I'm so sure have anybody completely figured out, right? And so I'm like, if he did get a bunch of work done, whoa, right? Like that would also be like really alarming, like, oh my goodness, right? Because like I'm like, okay, when Bradley Cooper comes out with like a new update to his look, his avatar, that makes sense, right? Even Leo, right? Leo can do a crash sobriety moment, right, to clean up, to you know, get rolled out, right? Like, so I even Zac Efron, right? Like I know when the boys show up, right? Like, you know, hey, all right. But that one, I was like, what are they doing to us right now? And why are they using Jim?
Alternatively,
because they knew we had.
Alternatively, he was wearing prosthetics as a mask to be a character, playing a character of himself, like how he did Andy Kaufman, but as himself.
Inception.
Because he is such a genius comedian in a lot of ways. Like, I'll give him that. And he had a hard childhood, too. He came from some shit. And he's actually Canadian, so I know a little bit about him. He was born near where I was born and grew up, so I take it personal, you know, a little bit.
Super
but
meta.
I think that it's intentional, because if you saw that show Kidding, I will recommend that. It's not horror or anything, but it says a lot about the industry also, differently than The Stand-In. But Kidding, I feel like he was already setting us up for what he was already trying to say about the industry, and now he's just making fun of us. You know what I mean? Like, it's a joke he's playing on the world.
Yeah.
Could be. You know what I mean?
That's kind
like
of
the mask.
what I got, where I like
you know?
stood back and I said, okay, if I'm thinking from the character of Jim Carrey that's been presented to us, what is he doing to fuck with us? Right? Like, excuse me. Like,
like, and in his retirement, like, what are we gonna do to fuck around? Because he's done stuff like this before, like little stunts,
and he's
you know?
testing us, right? Like, in a sense, right? Or someone is testing us with him, right? So, whatever, however you want to see it, in my mind, I'm like, we're being tested, and how are we reacting to the test, right? Like, this is an experiment. How are we reacting to the test? So, like, I'm glad you shared, you know, your perspective, because I don't know necessarily if there's a right answer at this stage, but I like the answer you just gave.
Fair enough. I appreciate it. And I was kind of just like, because a lot of people asked me too about it, and I kind of touched on it a bit here and there on the streams or whatever. But I don't really know either, because I mean, some stuff it's like, that, like you said too, like the truth is stranger than fiction, and some of the stuff, the revelations and stuff that it's like, even I'm shocked, and it takes a lot to shock me, you know what I mean? But with him, I could see him playing the joke. Or yes, alternatively, like some people are talking about cloning, and I know that that's sort of been a coming back, like a conversation that's starting to resurface more commonly, which I think, if anything, it's like to test our willingness to accept that, because I mean, we know they're already like 30 years ahead of everything that they want us to know anyways, and we know they were already doing stuff in the 90s with like Dolly the Sheep, and we know, like, from what we do know, there may be like these instances that are going to be trying to plan to prepare us to even just start thinking about it, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
That's basically like
world.
where I was at. Whether it you know, whether they got him, right? Like they got him.
Did they get to him and now they replaced him? I don't want
against us, and it's you know, whatever.
I don't want to believe that.
No matter how you look at it, I'm like, from the outset, I'm being tested, right? No matter who this is coming from. But there was a nature to it that made me really apprehensive. I didn't like the energy.
Yeah, well, because he said like, but from what you were saying earlier too, is like because he's been so outspoken and he's been calling stuff out for so long, and like a lot of people now too are circling back to it and like really listening now. Like, don't think he's crazy anymore either, because like that was one of my first pivots to like, okay, we're gonna play the game, because I'd come out talking about different things even before the Still Not Crazy and the Dark Hollywood stuff, but that was sort of my way to start coming in and saying things kind of under the radar, you know, covertly. But that Still Not Crazy was like, he's not crazy. Here's what he's trying to say, right? And I think now people are really only fully just coming full circle to that. And that was however many years ago,
I feel like they're,
right?
and now I feel like they're trying to do this now at this exact moment. So when people go back and listen to him, they see it as a joke, or it's like this, like discrediting at an interesting time, right? So if it wasn't him and it was a body double and it was like a whole staged event or whatever it might be, right? To me, it's sinister because it's like, oh, now people will go back and think, oh, he's just doing a bit. Or maybe this, you know what I mean? It adds,
that's what they thought like before too,
injecting conspiracy into him potentially blowing a whistle or telling truth. It's like kind of washed it in this, oh, everything is just, you know, performance art and, you know, all of that. And it totally sanitizes it. And that's kind of what made me sit back and be like, I'm really going to observe this, because are they trying to delegitimize the stuff he said in the past if people go back and look at it with the eyes they have now with the veil lifted?
That's a good point too. Like, rather than taking him out like as a like his life. That's fair too. That's a good point too. But like, that was the one thing I didn't really want to consider as much, but that is also obviously like that he's been taken out and been replaced would be my,
because he would have been taken out if he did that much work to his face. If he does that much work to his face, he'll be done. Right? He's not like
so that doesn't make
Cillian
sense.
Murphy.
Right. It just doesn't make sense because he's always been very expressive. That's part of his bit. Like, that's part of his comedy, right? So it doesn't make sense for him to go exactly, right? So this is where I kind of was like,
that would be the end of his career.
Yeah.
And that was the talk initially, right? And people didn't like that either. And then it got, you know, a little bit deeper. But to me, I was just like, ooh, I don't know.
Was it because... Sorry, okay, go ahead, because I just thought of something.
You go ahead.
Well, maybe he snubbed them. Maybe he was going to snub the award show and he wasn't going to go, so they had to stand and come in and play him. And, in a way, ended the career of it, and instead of them being embarrassed that he didn't want to show up,
like,
that,
we own you
know,
still.
they flipped it on him in a way, Yeah.
Because especially if he was, like, out of the public eye, he's out the way, he said it all, he tipped the hat. And now you're utilizing his image, and, you know, people have a certain level, and people in the know, but even people that are fans of him have a certain level of his integrity, credibility, honesty, candor. And so if he's doing these types of things, people, if he comes out in the future or whatever, that will be now like, a part of the conversation.
Yeah. It's like another benchmark of a discredibility of like, or like he's just a jokester, or he's just like, oh, it's just another bit. Oh, he's, you know.
We just see how they smear.
Yeah, I could see that too. Because I like, that was kind of where I was sitting. Is like, okay, I don't think he wanted to go to the award show. That he's just over it, right? So either he had hired somebody, or that like they put somebody in his place. And he doesn't want to
lend his credibility to this industry anymore. And look at how they're punishing people that are resistant to lending their, you know, because like, hey, that's going to be a commodity now, right? Do people think that despite being in this industry, if people aren't painting with a broad brush and we are looking at you at individual level because we're understanding that we can't get rid of the system overnight, you know, and now it's like this different type of severe purity test, right? Like different, like, hey, it's not a good old boys club anymore. How do you fare? And he would be one of the guys, right? That people think you weren't in the Red Shoe Club. You weren't in the back rooms, dark tunnels, dungeons. So if people think that about you, like they do in Adam Sandler, you know, then you showing up is important to them. And if you don't want to show up anymore,
like, sorry, you got me thinking now. You kind of got me on
how would they exploit you? And then how who can they, because you got to think about like the celebrities that are the celebrity's favorite celebrity, and Jim is one of those.
Yeah.
So if you do this to Jim, how many other celebrities can you get to stand in line so they aren't used or exploited when they just want some peace or they want to go away quietly,
Right.
you know, after doing whatever it is they did?
Like, as an
Jim
example,
is the type of celebrity that you use against other celebrities.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, and then just to what extent is it maybe just to be just as another distraction? Like, on one hand, they're trying to throw so much of the trauma stuff at everybody right now because they're almost depending that it's going to be enough that most people will literally, like we were just saying, they will just dissociate and put their heads in the sand because it's just too much horror at once, and then they just brush past the whole thing. But so how many of those things in between is it to overwhelm? Is it to distract? Is it to trauma? I don't know. I haven't thought of a phrase for that yet. It doesn't exist yet. Or there maybe is one, I just don't know it. But to like trauma overstimulate, you know, like, so then people, I don't know. That's a theory. I'm working on that theory right now. I don't really know. It's just kind of coming to me. But I think that this is one of those things that it's like they can deploy things for different purposes, you know, as like spin doctor stuff or whatever, because sometimes the best thing to do is to just distract, you know. And like I'm more apt to believe it wasn't him, but I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one. Where that I'm like, I don't even want to. I try not to go too deep into that because I could go around in circles on that one for my different opinions on him and just the other stuff that I know about him. Because that show, Kidding, Ariana Grande has a part on that show, and a lot of it is very meaningful. And I've actually meant to go back and rewatch it because I saw that back in like 2019, and it was part of like an early awakening to like starting to do videos and stuff. But now going back and how intentional he was about the themes, who was involved, what it was playing on, and I don't want to give too much of it away because if you end up checking it out, I don't want to like ruin it for you. But the whole show was a commentary on society and the double-edged sword of like kids content and who's behind those characters and how you're typecasted into a certain character and how that can affect somebody as they're trying to be an adult. Coming out of a childhood career kind of thing or a for children type career. Like, it's very, as a comedian, that's when he was really starting to figure things out and starting to really say stuff, and they killed that show. Like, a lot of people probably never even heard of it, but it was fantastic. It was only 2 seasons. They canceled the crap out of it because it was saying way too much. But I think,
I need to find it.
How do we find it? I'll send you a link or something.
No, I said, I need to find it.
Or you need to find it. Okay, I thought you said, how do I find it or where do I find it? But yeah, we'll get you there. But it was very pointed enough that I think to go back to review that too. And just because, like, with what we know now and what Ariana started saying about her experiences and just as more all this stuff's coming to the surface, like, he's been trying to say stuff. Like, he's sort of been trying to say stuff the whole time with all of his stuff, right? It seems like as you look back, like, there's always the comedic edge.
And I mean, it's too on the nose for me that Ariana has shown signs of her own awareness of the MK Ultra in the room of it all, and her affinity for Jim, and, you know, the realizing that Jim is a system, right? System recognizing system, and her affinity for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, my affinity for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
Know,
that's
Vanilla
so
Sky.
Yeah, his best work. Some of his best work. Like, but we're probably gonna we'll have to do a whole other stream like just on that probably with Ariana and stuff. But the one thing
I did want to point out, somebody said in the chat,
go ahead.
Adam
Sorry,
Sandler and Jennifer involved.
Adam Sandler and
Jennifer involved, and they said, if so, I grew up creeped out by these two, and everyone else loved them. And then somebody above pointed out what I wish more people were able to point out with what roles people tend to take or deviations from roles or whatever. But a comment above that one said, Sandler always plays an underdog nice guy who saves the day. Never liked his movies.
Well,
I'm like,
Tom Hanks.
Yes, please get into the archetypes, because that's like Tom Hanks.
It's hard. It's hard because Adam Sandler was one I grew up on too. That and Jim Carrey were like my favorites as a kid. So that's a tough one.
But I'm just saying, like,
I'm going
look
in
at
on
them
him.
more
I
closely.
am. Well, Tom Hanks. Okay, before we get too far past Ariana Grande, I was going to say she had talked about going to play charades at Tom Hanks' house, and Jeanette McCurdy in her book talks about how she was jealous of that. But now looking back, it's pretty much like, well, what was the, at what expense, at what cost? You know, like, she thought she was getting this next upper echelon opportunity, but what happened to Ariana at Tom Hanks' house? What the fuck does charades mean at Tom Hanks' house? But, okay, to go back to Adam Sandler, the Sprouse twins, Cameron Boyce, another red dot, and right after he was talking, he was in this movie called Showbiz Kids, talking about his thing in the industry and the whole thing, and he, that Grown Ups was a big movie for him. And for Grown Ups 2, Adam paid a ton of money to have Cameron Boyce, like, AI superimposed into the next one or some shit. And it was a whole big, wholesome, loving, warm thing. But there was something about this that just didn't sit right with me with the way that he went. He's another, like, less... People don't speak about it as much. But it's one that stands out to me, the Cameron Boyce. And I haven't looked too closely yet. But yes, I know. And I have a Hawaii theory that's been developing, and as far as, like, I get it, I know, and I'm going to go there, because I get that it's going to ruin more of the, like, people that I thought, you know, were, I don't know, when I was a kid, I didn't know these were all bad people,
right,
and, you know,
when
what
your
are we going to do?
faves become complicit characters,
What are we going to do, yeah, so... But I don't know, I agree that some of these guys that seem to have the whole good guy, and even with Reiner, like, his whole campaign about the children are so important, and before the age of 3, and all this stuff, he went on the whole campaign.
And we know the warning signs.
Well, he literally said everyone in jail for a violent crime had a nightmare childhood. And so now, all these people want to argue of, like, oh, how dare you talk about this guy, and all this, and da-da-da-da. Well, what did he mean by that in the context that we're looking at it? If he was you know, on the whole campaign of being a good parent, and he's such the good parent, American dad parent, why did his son kill him and his wife? I'd like to know that, because if everyone in jail for a violent crime, now what if that violent crime is killing your own parents? So then bringing back to the Menendez brothers and bringing back to this Nick Reiner situation, what next level of complex trauma have you reached? What nightmare childhood does it take for you to go from just doing, you know, there's the teen pregnancies and addictions and crime, like street crimes, and, you know, he wanted to talk about how all the problems in the world were because of bad childhoods, right? Well, when you look at the spectrum of bad childhood and the outcomes, what does it mean when they kill both of their own parents? In his own words, right? So...
it's very Menendez.
It is very Donnie Darko, actually, too, you know, both of them.
Yeah, oh.
You know?
Whoa.
Which was Drew Barrymore. That was one of her first productions. I feel like she's been trying to say it the whole time. That's why we're going to have a debate on it one time. We're going to talk about it. Because I think it's a wild card situation where she is trying, but I think she's so embedded and in deep. Like, for her, the only reason she's alive right now is because she's still playing enough of the game, you know? And I don't know. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, you know? Yeah.
Well, I see the people that were at Britney's wedding as victims as well, but, like, they're
in Paris
in a position of power over Britney.
Good.
But Selena, Drew, Paris, Madonna, come on.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. That's why I haven't circled back to that yet.
If anybody's been through a program,
yes,
it's those people.
1,000%. Well, literally, the program. What's that? That was literally the documentary that with Paris and the troubled teen industry stuff, and they were talking more about the specific program to, like, rehabilitate these troubled teenagers. Well, are they troubled, or do they go through too much trauma and they're starting to break down and fight the system, right? And it's the rich people way of putting them back into the program, right? The 18 facilities that Nick Reiner was put into, and some of them were troubled teen facilities, because they don't want you, if you're having a problem with your trauma, that's not okay. We're going to make you to be the problem and go fix you, because your trauma shouldn't be the problem, or we didn't do the wrong thing. You're doing the wrong thing by having a problem with the trauma and not doing what we want, right? Mm-hmm. So, I know you've been here too, though, so it's like, I know I'm just kind of preaching to the choir, but for the rest of the class, the whole class, I probably should have been responding to some more of the chat here, but I feel like we were just like, we're on such a good roll here, and the internet's good, everything's going, but the one thing I did want to respond to, people have kept asking me if I watched the Josie and the Pussycats. I did finally watch it. Yes, it was saying a lot of shit, and Tara Reid, she's an interesting person I've been wanting to look into more, but Hollyweird Babylon, the channel Hollyweird Babylon, they've just finally come back after a little bit of a hiatus themselves. And they just did a really good video on Tara Reid. I haven't finished the whole thing, but definitely
Ooh.
another good diamond in the rough kind of channel that's, you know, this is what we're trying to go for here, though. I kind of only want certain
Yeah.
kinds of people coming through and being guests, or that I'll shout out, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that they're getting to it. Their content is, they might not be big and fancy, they're not some big, you know what I mean? But they're all these little
Yeah.
diamonds in the rough have the best
But
information.
you're
you know?
curating a symposium of philosophers in this, and I mean, I
Yes.
love the substance in your chat. Like, you know, as I've like kind of like been skimming as we've gone through, I'm like, you know, you have a really great audience of really intelligent people, and I feel like that's definitely what's motivated me to come over to YouTube, is just to have a more elevated conversation. Because even
Yeah.
when I put the microscope on one person, right, whether it be Adam, whether it be Drew, you know, any of these people, I'm not trying to villainize anybody, right? Or
Yeah.
we're not, whatever. I'm just like, who are we really looking at? And can we apply these other lenses? So when
Yes.
I pointed out that comment of, the, like, you know, why do these actors, these entertainers, these performers, why do they perpetuate certain archetypes,
Yes.
certain tropes, certain symbols? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Who benefits?
The
How do
common
they
denominators,
benefit?
yes.
And what do they hide behind? And that it might not be necessarily like insidious or sinister, but there is a level of deception, right, within entertainment and, you know, the illusion of it all. But for me, it's like we shouldn't be afraid just because we have you know, a nostalgia for the art. We don't have
Yes.
to abandon it.
Yes.
Because back to antiquity, you know what I mean? The people that gave us our art were these flawed people, these types of stories. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to say like separate the art from the artist, but it's like we can't throw everything away because
when
there's
a
information
thousand
in
people
it.
working on a movie, you can't necessarily throw the whole movie out just because one person turns out to be bad. But if that person was bad and was convicted of a crime, came out of jail for that crime, and you all chose to work with them, that's a different thing, right? So, like,
yeah, we can't stop storytelling.
Yeah.
We're gonna end up in The Giver or Brave New World. You know, we have so
Yes.
many dystopian
Yes.
outcomes for if we stop retelling these stories. But we have to examine how people tell their stories, right?
Yes.
How you know, and who benefits from it,
Yes.
right? And we
Yes.
know the systems that we're up against. So it's like to, you know, examine Adam Sandler with the same type,
I
you know,
know.
not applying
I know.
everything, you know, grafting
know.
it. But I'm just saying, like, there's
You're right.
aspects to these leading men that are
I know.
important to look at.
I know. It's
Without
true.
being
It's like
afraid,
what I'm
right?
saying
'Cause-
about Rob Reiner. I need to be willing to take that about the people that I grew up having a
Or
respect
Tom,
for,
right? Because
Yeah.
Tom is like,
Yeah.
now it's mainstream to point out
Yeah.
that Tom is
Oh,
a
I
little
went hard
funny.
on
But
him.
I mean,
I went in on
back
hard on
in
him. He's not a good guy.
2008,
Yeah, he's not a good guy.
if you brought up that guy wasn't a family man, like, what type of crazy looks would you get?
Yeah. No, I know. And already, yeah, like some people, I'm getting more of a better reception on the Hanks video than I have in the Reiner stuff, though. But it's all the same thing, right? Like, I gotta be able to take it as much as I'm giving it, right?
And you're early, you
yeah.
know, you're just early. Just realize like you're early.
You too, right? And you know what? Here's what we'll do. Well, we should answer some comments in the chat. Usually what I do is I do like a presentation and then I'll go through the chat and start interacting. But our whole presentation ended up
let's open it up.
there was so
and
much
then,
to chat. There's so much. So I don't know if you want to scroll through and answer a couple questions, and I'll scroll through and we'll just kind of like close it out.
No,
that way.
I'll let you take it because I mean this is.
Well, I'm just scrolling.
this is
So
all
if any
you.
stood out to you, the Disney party. Oh, okay, so I guess if you want to talk a little bit about the parties, they're saying that they had heard that they had Disney parties where Miley Cyrus and other kids were being, I don't know if I'm reading, groomed and harmed and trespassed upon, like the Nickelodeon from Obscure Nick. I guess just in general. Like, yeah, I think this is sort of the grooming ground, and like you sort of said it in the intro of how it's like it's all just human traffic jams or traffic stops, I think you'd say.
Yeah.
I say traffic jams, so I liked when
And
you
it's-
said that.
And
But
the
go
way
ahead.
that the traffic stops
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I feel like in so many ways like it's packaged in so many different ways. So it's like, you know, these celebrities have meet and greets, right?
Yeah.
And I think people started looking at meet and greets a little bit differently when it came to Millie Bobby Brown
Mm-hmm. Oh man, the Drake
and how
situation.
her parents
fuck. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then people are like, wait a minute, that sounds like what happened with Shirley Temple. And like all of these things were on the surface a meet and greet. You know what I mean? But you can call a lot of meet and greet, right?
Yeah.
And those types of dynamics, right? Of how they usher these young kids into these types of environments, right? And it's right in their faces. And I mean, when it comes to the Disney kids, why is Bella Thorne like that?
Oh yeah, that's a sad story too. She's her stuff's interesting though. I've read some of her poetry book, and she had written. Oh, that'll be another day. I'll save it for another day. But I'm glad that you mentioned Bella Thorne.
Well, and
she's
then
a
I'll tell you
lesser
about how I
discussed one.
accidentally ended up at her house.
Oh shit.
So,
okay, continue.
yeah.
Sorry, but she's
no.
that's
I'm just
so
saying,
sad
like, whenever we talk about Bella, then I'll share that story. But I'm just like,
yeah.
And I think it's important to say that not every kid on a set will be abused, right?
Right.
Not everybody gets it, and that's a part of it, right? Like an abuser can have access to a group of children. They're grooming all the children and abusing one or two, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's hard for people to kind of conceptualize, that it's important to listen to everyone involved, but also to understand that a part of the process is to not have everybody be abused, right? Like, no, not everybody can commiserate under the same trauma. So that'll blow your spot up real quick. So picking and choosing your victims is a part of this.
That's the important part, is to keep them isolated. I wonder if actually, I was just gonna see if maybe, I don't know, maybe it's too late now. I don't know. A couple of people were referring back to some of the stuff I've been talking about with Obscure Nick, and I know this is something I kind of mentioned it too, but I'm going to mention it to you too, that at some point we got to all have a chat too, because like there's some overlaps here, and for more of the insider industry stuff, I feel like you guys have a little more of that different insight, and it would just be a good group chat, like we're all the same. You know what I mean? We're all kind of like-minded individuals, and there's a reason certain people I will have on probably more regularly than other people might just be a one-time thing or whatever. And not because there's anything wrong with them or whatever, but that I feel that we're kind of now working on different sides of the map at the same time already. So this is it just makes
cleaning
sense.
The attic.
Yeah, like you said, cleaning different sides of the same attic. Exactly. So they're in this also, and have been in it for a very long time. She was the one that had revealed the Drake Bell being the victim of Brian Peck before it fully came out, and there was some insider stuff with doing the quiet on set thing. Like, so it's just like there's all these different little pieces that are sort of floated together in such a way. And like I've been hanging around and watching your stuff, and this whole time it's like been in the making for all this time. And it's kind of funny because other people kind of kept saying about Dr. Sleep, and I know I keep mentioning it, and I won't keep forcing it. I promise I will just make like a little PowerPoint for you. But it's how it is, how everyone comes together. Everyone is coming together from around it, using the shine. It brings all these people together to fight the evil powers that be and to protect the kids, is pretty much the beginning, middle, and end of it. But the way that it's done, and the way they show the mental construct, and like there's one scene where it shows like a Victorian library in their mind, and that's kind of like, it reminds me of you, like how you talk about it sometimes too in your system, is like, I'm like, that's you right there. That's funny. But that actually might be the bad character, so maybe it's not you. But just, in the filing cabinets, like the way that they're showing the shine, and they're showing systems. Like, I think you're almost ready now. I know that it's
even
before,
if it's the bad character, I'm like,
but it's the mental construct part of it.
Shadow.
Right, and it's just more the mental, how they're showing like the vastness, because it's basically the one character, it's like the good shiny person versus the bad shiny person, and then you're kind of seeing the comparisons of the mental constructs and how they kind of battle each other, and then the good character is pushing the bad character out of their mind. And it's just a very interesting sequence. It's a lot of the conversations we've had. Like, I'm like, we're basically talking about this freaking movie every freaking time. Like, it's the way that you mention stuff.
Because
you don't have to, because there is some gory stuff. There is some gory scenes, but like, I can even clip that shit out for you and just send the rest of the movie without the I don't know. I will give you the warning. There is gore, but it's intentional. If you want to give the
princess treatment, I'll take it. But I feel like that movie,
it's not gratuitous. It's not gratuitous violence. It's intentional violence to make a point. It's done
Well, yeah, I can
respectfully.
handle that then.
You know what I mean? It's not done like you sent me that, the Welcome to Derry or whatever, because Shirley Gold are talking about The Shine. And then I was like, what the hell did you send me? Like, this is like, I'm from the afternoon, I'm watching
like,
horror
well,
and gore. I'm like, did you watch
but,
this?
like, you can get
Did
the
you watch
gist.
this? Because if you can watch this, you can watch Dr. Sleep, because that's like way beyond the gore even. Like Dr. Sleep is tame compared to that. So if you got through some of that other show,
well, and I can handle
but
the
this is all
psychological
relevant.
thriller aspect.
Yeah, that's more what it is. And
You
there's
know what I
just
mean?
it's intentional to make the point of what's being like. It's very intentional. It's not gratuitous, just gore for the sake of gore. It's meant to make a point of what it's about, the evil powers that be and what they're doing, and it's very relevant to, especially now, of what's happening to kids and why, and like the way that they show it. And it's really messed up because Stephen King is a weirdo. He's a weirdo. When you really go back, he's kind of a weirdo. But the way that it's presented, it's like he's trying to say some stuff about, because there's maybe
most
weirdos, but there's more
authors
evil
are.
weirdos. Some weirdos are just fair. But some weirdos are not as weird as the other weirdos, so the weirdos will still call it the weirder weirdos, right? So. It's, I think maybe, like if you're ready for it, like because you'll see, you're gonna laugh at yourself at how much the themes of in that have come up this whole time. Like,
I think
this
it's
past 2
time,
years.
right? I
This
think I'm
past 2
ready. I
years.
think and I'm definitely, I feel like when you were initially asking it, I'm like, I'm in the peak of some really heinous insomnia. But whenever
wasn't
you
the
bring
time.
it up, it reminds me of The Cell. Have you seen The Cell?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
With
Differently
Vince
though.
Vaughn.
But differently though. I think is that what
Yeah,
I'm
but I'm
thinking?
just
Let me
saying,
look
like,
that.
the
Is that
elements
what
that you say that are in it,
That's not the
and
one
then
with
there
J-Lo, is
is
it?
some trauma.
Is that the one with J-Lo, The Cell? I'm pretty
Yes.
sure. Yes. Okay, yes. I'm thinking the right
And
one. I
Vince
have that
Vaughn.
on VHS. Yes. That's a good one. Yeah. It is sort of like that, but differently.
It's a
That's
comedian.
almost more inside the mental construct for a good portion of it. This is like the in, the out, and all around. And then the spiritual, the astral. Like the shine, all-encompassing shine. Not just the telekinetic, the saying, speaking and hearing without saying it. Like there's, you're gonna love it. When you finally watch it, you're gonna be like, holy crap.
Okay.
You're gonna be like, holy crap. This whole time. Because it's
I
the
got it.
theme.
Yeah,
It's the
no, that's my
common theme.
homework now.
It's okay. Well, and because I know we were like about the horror stuff, so I didn't really want to push on you. But so many times we're having in the middle of a conversation, and
handle
I'm
it.
like, this is the movie right now. It's happening. There's like how it's come, like I don't know. You'll see what I mean once you see it. It's just funny now
All right,
too. 'cause
chat. You'll
people have
keep me
mentioned
accountable the next time you see
haven't
it.
seen it.
Next time the chat sees me, I'll have watched it. Okay.
No pressure,
Accountability. I
though.
won't come back on the stream until
Oh, well,
I
don't
have
do that.
watched-
She might never come back. No pressure. It's okay.
No.
No pressure. But
No.
It does-
It's
it's a good-
I'm here today.
it's a theme.
We're working on being a little bit more perceived. All right.
Well,
Working
don't-
with it. Working with the
okay.
technology.
Good for you.
No,
This is good.
hit some of
High
these
five.
comments. Can you
Yeah,
dive
are
in
we
here?
doing more?
I
Yeah, I'm
see-
looking. They want to know more about the Blake Lively and Ryan. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's some questions in the Zac Efron. People want to hear a little more about that. I'm just kind of going through, but because
okay.
you had touched on the Blake Lively, but you had just mentioned Zac Efron not long ago too. I think.
Yes.
I'm going back, and then I'm going to come forwards. But so I don't know if you want to speak on one or the other of those things.
Well, I think with Zach is very important to me as far as being in the conversation of exploitation. And I think so much of the male experience within this machine, right, is historical, right? Like this goes way back, Rome and further, right? Of how we treat beautiful men. And for me, Zac Efron is the epitome of that. His story is very scary to me sometimes. Some of the headlines, some of the things that he's experienced, the patterns, and where he'll be spotted. And I think, that type of behavior is normalized with women in a lot of ways. But when it comes to the men, it goes under the radar as well. And so I have a soft spot for Zac Efron, like I do with Justin Bieber, like I did and still do with Aaron Carter and, his memory and legacy.
Yeah, he's a soft spot for me too. Like that was a heavy duty one that I covered pretty closely when it all went down. And I'm like, hey, still, like it's like It's justice for all of them, though. Like, it's just justice for more of them, as more are added.
And you're hoping
you
for
know,
freedom for the ones that you can see that are still trapped in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just because there are ones that are still just struggling, and then the way that people treat them now, making a spectacle of them and sensationalizing their suffering. Yeah. They're like the ones that suffer the most then get the least support on the other end because of the struggle, you know. So I think just changing the conversation around the whole thing is really important at this time, and then it helps
taking new angles.
I think it helps a lot more people just in general, because like in society it's a recurring issue. Like, trauma is the same in every language and every socioeconomic status, every religion, every culture, you know. This is the one thing that unites us all, and that's the one thing I think they don't want us to realize. You know, that we could turn it around and use it against them the way they've been using it against us. Like, all these systems now that have fought back and are being able to take back the power of their own system and their own program. Like, these are the kinds of people that are going to be able to make the difference, you know, to be able to usher in the new understanding and the new, you know what I mean, the new ways of doing things.
A new age,
new age, you know, because it has to happen. Something needs to happen. This has gone on for far too long, and it's just, And Zac Efron, I think there's like some rumors on that. And sorry, go ahead.
No. Wait, rumors on what? Wait.
Well, just with him rumors of like how I don't know. I'd seen something about him kind of being put around like some of these women are like on yachts and stuff. Like, I think there was some stuff there where he'd had to kind of pay his way to get the flight tickets too. I think like there's more in and around that too. We could go into if you wanted to do a Zac Efron. Like, I guess I'm just, as we're talking now, I'm thinking of other segments we can do later if it's stuff you is more your expertise. Then I'm thinking that I know some stuff too, right?
Well, wait, I'm like, where? I have him, where? Oh, Muhammad al-Turki.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So maybe it was you that I saw it. I don't know. Maybe you were talking about it.
That's his handler.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe it was you that was talking about it then.
That's who has his thumb on Zac and Michelle Rodriguez.
Okay. Okay, so
and that's who has them on the yachts.
Which, and then there's the whole hierarchy there too of just like, you think the people that you're looking up to that are the celebrities for us are like the lower end of the hierarchy on the upper echelon. Yeah. You know? Like that I think a lot of people don't realize too, that there's hierarchies within the hierarchies. Completely separate from us, from society, from, you know?
Yeah, we idolize the courtesans basically, and we think they're the kings, and we don't even, even take the time to figure out who they see as the king.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's so much
and who they're beholden to. Like, who's their duke? Who's their, who's their duke?
Yeah. Well, and then when you think of the other layers of the secret societies beneath the surface too, because there's like the upper hierarchies and then the lower hierarchies, and it's just a whole thing.
It's like a labyrinth.
Literally, there you go. Your Lilith's labyrinth. I don't know. That's not what you're talking about really on there so much, but you are. But
no, but it is.
But it is. Yeah. So like, I think it's time now. Like, I knew where you were kind of going with a lot of the stuff then too, and I totally get. Like, I needed to go on a hiatus too. I think a lot of people did, but I feel that a lot of people now are activating all at the right time, because it's like we're finally can see the crack in the foundation. Like, there's a crack in the foundation to the powers that be, and we're like, now is the time to keep everyone chipping away at once, because we're right there. People are getting it. Like, like people in the chat.
Speaking of chipping away, I remember you were when I first started talking about Blake Lively, the Taylor Swift, Justin Baldoni of it all, and you were kind of like, wait, what's this? Where are you at with that now? Because
I always thought she was just putting on some bullshit, because Ryan had called her out for being extra flirty with Justin, and she was like, oh no, he was like inappropriate with me, and then he went and made it a big deal, and now she looks stupid. Kind of like, not to just totally minimize and like diminish it, but I almost kind of felt that at first, that she had created a little bit of a rift between Ryan and that guy, and that now she's gonna go and say a thing, but then it turned into a bigger thing than she expected, and she couldn't backtrack. It was too late, because then otherwise it would be revealed that she was the one being the weird the whole time. That's sort of like the vibe. That I was getting in the beginning, and I think they confirmed it, basically. Like, they threw out the one charge, or the couple of the charges, or whatever. Yeah, but you go ahead. You know more about
the
this. But yes,
accusations were, unfounded, but I think that they they're now peddling in the narrative that, oh, because she was a contract employee, they're making it seem like it was more of like a technicality, right? But we knew way back then that, I think the top of 2025 that she didn't have the right evidence for what she was bringing to the table. And I think initially I did think that it was more of a spousal kind of dispute, more at its root, right?
Yeah.
Wandering eye, all of these aspects, which I don't think are removed from it. But I do see a premeditated, hijacking, right? I think she wanted power.
Yeah. Sorry, continue. I'm like, because I feel like that's kind of the angle you were going to with it. Now that I'm thinking about it, because it was a while ago now, but I'm trying to think because I didn't take in as much of that stuff either. But I think that's kind of where you're going was like that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
continue.
And I didn't go too deep, right? Like I just kind of scratched the surface and was like, are y'all really looking at the people that are kind of doing this, Dance of Dragons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, just illuminating to people how many, big entities were involved in that, right? Like just in general. And the lore behind it to me was important for people as it played out. But for me now, just seeing how they've moved, how Hollywood has reacted, I'm like, oh, this was the David and Goliath situation. And I see a lot more premeditation in it of how they thought they could get over on him. And what they wanted out of it, right?
Yeah.
And how much of an embarrassment that couple, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, are to the industry, because that's how it goes more often than not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was only because Justin Baldoni has the type of backing and, his own set of invisible hands to help him go up against a machine like this. It didn't go the way that it normally did, but it exposed the behind of the industry in a lot of ways that I'm still curious how this will play out. I think that's what's interesting about it, because I'm like, oh, they really do kind of want us to think that, it was just her being jealous, or, an unfulfilled wife, or
I thought it was Ryan was jealous, but yes, okay, I see. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
But jealous maybe of the dynamic that Justin Baldoni had with his wife, and so many aspects, jealous of Ryan and, his ability and freedom creatively and everything, intellectually, all the intellectual property and creativity that him and Taylor have, right? And Hugh Jackman, and how when they're all at a table together, what does she really have to show for her life's work? And so for her wanting to hijack this from Justin, it was to compete with these other characters that I thought were much more interesting too, to kind of add in.
Fair enough. Yeah, okay. That's yeah. Well, I always respect, and I know that you're doing what you're doing for a reason, so it's more just it's not questioning the question,
Ryan,
but yeah.
Right, because when you talk about Ryan and Blake, then you talk about the traffic stop philanthropy, then you talk about Hugh Jackman and Taylor Swift, but Hugh Jackman and Bryan Singer, and then Ryan Murphy, it builds out.
Bryan Singer is he's a big part of this from way back too.
And in the Justin Baldoni of it all, when they got into the Deadpool, production, and then they're seeing the weird jokes, and people are like, why are you having your daughter say this line over and over and over again? Why are you breaking down her boundaries like this?
I never saw that, so I didn't even know there was that angle too. Shit, yeah. See, this is one we maybe even need a whole
it's the things that kind of came out about them that was like, yeah, this is the bigger cancer involved, right? And it really kind of put a spotlight on Taylor Swift. So I'm like, these big systems, right, of power are being exposed in this. And they want us to kind of trivialize it or kind of whittle it down to these other things, because they don't want us to kind of see how much bums are getting exposed behind this.
Fair enough. Well, as far as the whole spin doctor stuff that's done, that I don't think people realize too how much They pull strings behind the scenes and make different things happen. Like, I feel like there was so many little photo op situations that Ryan Reynolds had set up around that time that was like, do people not see what's happening here? Like, this is...
Oh my gosh. And it was so on the nose. It was so on the nose. And the thing is that another aspect, I guess, of my personal lore is that I went to school to do that publicist shark behavior. And I had a coming to, you know, Jesus, but not really, you know, figuratively, where I was like, wait, I will have to give up my soul to do this job.
Yeah, I don't want to do this for evil.
Can you imagine if a mind like mine was working for Blake Lively? I could we could do world domination. If you know, that's why when you said with the Dr. Sleep, you know, like the bad character had a system like me, I'm like, yeah, I could see how I could be used as a weapon.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's kind of that's more what I meant by it. That obviously it's not that you remind me of an evil character, but this is like, it's literally it. It's like we were saying too the other day, the defense against the dark arts. Like, you have to understand it to be able to be prepared and aware to fight against it, right? So the more you can study all the ins and outs, because that's all a tool within that system, right? Of how they keep the control, of how they manipulate, of how they spin a narrative, of how they change the perspective from the outside for the common people, right? All of that, like, that's all part of it. And exactly, like, this is what gives you, I guess I should have mentioned that too, but that gives you even more of the edge of, like, yeah, you've been in it in so many ways, like in the belly of the beast, and seen what it had to offer, and you made the right choice. And then you're maybe on the little chaotic side of, you come in and make some waves and stir everybody's shit up, but it's for the sake of good, you know, like with what you're doing with the Alondria stuff. Like, it's a whole another side of things. But it's still exercising the same...
Because it seems to be the future. I think that that's something I didn't realize until just recently too, where the reason why I was focusing more on this like new shift in entertainment, because I'm like, how are they utilizing the old for the new, right? Like, how are we keeping up? Because there's so much of an intersection of old or semi-old, right? Hollywood that's intersecting with social media and influencers. Like, when I'm seeing notorious Nickelodeon yacht girls intersecting with Love Island cast members, I want to know how a network like Peacock is becoming a traffic stop machine.
It's like that to shift it, though, because then too many people started looking at the Disney sphere, right? So now they have to shift it around. You know, and like,
and have
Island,
new
Love
pockets
Island, come on, right?
to recruit.
Yeah, and it's easier too, because a lot of people that sign up for different like reality show things, sometimes it's like, it's a little bit like they just want to get out there however they can, and they're kind of just willing to take what they can get. Like, a lot of people don't intend to go out and be like, I'm going to be a reality show star, where you can go and have a very lucrative career and take off. And it's actually funny, I was going to mention to you too, I'm pretty sure it's the guy that's with Audrey or whatever, that I've seen him in a Dove for Men commercial or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's the guy. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, oh, friggin' Christ, now I'm just seeing them everywhere, because I figured, because I've seen some of your videos, so now it's like trying to bring this stuff on my feed. But obviously they have deals, they have brand deals from it, they are making a career out of it, so it can be a launch pad. But for the people that like to get in it for the drama, and they try to get into it, and for the other more darker reasons like you're describing, this is where we get, you know, the same system.
To me, with that particular case study, it's really interesting, because it's like, the system is the system, but what about when the people have involvement, right? And how is, like, it's an act of almost like subversion, right? Like, and it's its own case study, right? While I'm watching all of the surrounding powers, right, like the old Hollywood industry, react to this new character that they didn't pick, right? How do you and somebody that has the shine, somebody that has an inner integrity, right, that is going to be much harder for you to chew up and spit out. Right?
It definitely makes it more of a wild card too, because it is a little more like, in some ways maybe people can be a little more vulnerable in that position, and it opens them up to different forms of manipulation, whatever. But then in a power system where and
when you have a breakout light, right? So if you have this like hyper reality situation, right, that like attracts clout, people that just want fame, people that don't mind about the exploitation of others, right? They rebranded it as empowerment. They're willing to drink any amount of the Kool-Aid to get in the room.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
These are the people that want to blink twice, right?
Yeah.
They're
willing.
Want to get there.
That's
They
the
want
thing.
to be there.
That's the difference, is the people that are victims of it because they didn't want to, they didn't ask to. And then there's the people trying to be that have a struggle and are going to be out here just causing problems.
But everybody has free will.
Yeah.
But also, I respect the people that were like, yeah, I thought I would do anything for fame until I got there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what I mean? I appreciate changing your mind, right?
Yeah.
Drinking the Kool-Aid and being like, actually,
this
no.
don't taste right.
Let me.
Yeah.
Let me regurgitate this right now.
Yeah.
Do not delete this entire experience. You know, I want out, right? So I know that there are imperfect victims, but what I think is most interesting is also seeing how the system responds. So when you have a case study like, people that had semi-influence, but not really, or, a model, and just these randoms, right? And they're put into a social experiment. So then you're watching people unfold under these conditions, under hyper surveillance.
Yeah.
You're watching the audience respond to this. But then when they come out, then you're watching the industry, right? The old guards, and how they respond to something that they made but didn't make.
How they try to assemble around it. Yeah.
But they're trying to.
Yeah, it's a different level of how they try to assemble around it versus
how are A-list responding to this like new cultural phenomenon, and how is the industry choosing or attempting to exploit it? To me, it's like not everybody's gonna get it, but for me, I'm like, this feels like the effing future, right? Like some Black Mirror shit.
Yeah, totally. Well, and then how quickly it just popped off the way it did, and then already I'm seeing the guy in a freaking commercial. Like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And I can add it to my cart from the TV now. This is weird. Like, some of the ads coming up on the TV, I'm like, I'm in a fucking horror movie. Like, I can literally, I've seen it. I got a free trial for the Amazon Prime again, and there's some stuff on there I like to watch, so I had it on. And now it literally will pop up with an ad while you're watching an ad. You're watching an ad, and it'll pop up within the ad, and you can click it and add it to your cart and buy it right off the fucking TV now. And I was like, this is literally, this is a Black Mirror episode right freaking now. Like, this is wild. This is wild. But this is the new catalysts of that, right? The new conduits of, like, they're trying to keep up with the new age and how it's evolving, how it's changing for the new younger crowd and new demographics and stuff. But then, it's an old system that's dying out, right? So how do they reassemble themselves around these breakouts that, like, they couldn't necessarily have manufactured it? And this is, like you said, too, why they don't like TikTok, right?
Yeah, other people like shifting around it, and seeing all of these various systems. But what pushed me over to YouTube and kind of brought me back to center, right? Where I was just like, no matter what, there you are. Right? So we might as well come together from different corners and try to figure it out, try to clean the attic, because, try to walk through this labyrinth in a lot of ways from whatever direction. Because, I mean, we've had, this is my kind of conversation. And you're getting me, I'm like, I've divested from Big Pharma. I'm fully ADHD, unmasked, and I'm talking to you. But the way that this conversation has jumped around, but I'm like, that's what this is, right? Like, we can talk about Adam Sandler and get to Tom Hanks, and then get to, back to Jim Carrey and Ariana, and jump all around. And I think that that's the essence of the mind map, the board of entertainment, and just conceptualizing what's going on in the present with the past and what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and that's why, like, I know that you always said, like, oh, it's not my mind map. I run the whole thing, and everybody does the thing, and it's not, nobody owns it or whatever. But that's why I want people to know that you had kind of started this, because you're sort of the catalyst of making all of this happen and having more of these people kind of coming together this other way. And on your side of things, like, it just shows the power, how much influence you can really have without having much influence at all. And like how you said, you kind of come out out of the blue and blew up, and then you got nuked on TikTok, tried to rebuild, and it just seemed like how many attacks were coming at you right away because you were hitting it right on the nose, because you had the insider knowledge, because you were a perfect cocktail of a threat to them, you know. And even if you know, you didn't get to be like a millions or anything like that of followers, but enough in a way that you were turning heads and making notice. Like it is too. It is technically like the amount of views and people watching you. But I mean, as far as the followers, like, they weren't gonna let you.
I mean,
they
like,
weren't gonna let
like,
you with where you were at and how quick you were. Like how quickly you were, you know.
65,000 people scared me though. I was like, you know, but like, I don't know. I
still
feel
huge.
Like it happened really quickly. It happened really quickly.
But that's what made them take notice, that you were getting so big so fast. So even though you weren't like a huge channel making a big wave, you didn't feel like it seemed like a big wave coming to you, but you didn't think that it was anything too made. Like, why is this crazy thing, and then why am I getting all these attacks? Well, that's why, because you were shining bright and they could see you, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you watch Dr. Sleep. They felt you from the other side of the world, a wave of shine coming across, and they're like, oh, that's a powerful one. What the fuck? We need to track that down, because that's a threat to us, right? One sec. If you want to just answer another question for a second in the chat. My dog keeps scratching on the back of the door, and I don't think you guys can hear them.
Totally.
But I can hear it. It's a little distracting. I'm just going to let her out to the room. But there's just probably another couple questions here. There was another, I don't know, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But if you want to just answer something quick, and I'll be back, and then, we'll do 2 or 3 more questions. But, like, we're almost at 3 hours here anyway, so I don't know if you wanted to keep going or if you wanted to wrap up and plan another day.
I could just talk. Yeah,
we can keep going too if you want, but it's totally up to you. Like
I feel like your chat might want some time with just you, so like I would love for you to come back and just wrap it up how you normally would.
Sure, no problem. I'll just she just I don't think you guys can hear it, but I can, and it is a little distracting. She got her little. I got to clip her nails. They starting to get a little like. One second. She just 1 second.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I can hold it. I got it. All right, guys. I'm the teacher now. No, I'm joking. All right, let's see. Okay. Yes, I did see also blind items about the Jacob Ellerdy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, 100%, you guys, but Ryan Singer, that whole clique is very terrifying to me. And any young talent, I mean, Timothy Chalamet, you guys.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm back, but continue.
Yay. No,
Yay.
I'm glad you're back. My question, why would Taylor help her friend steal a movie? Greed.
Interesting.
Power.
She is manufactured too, Taylor, with that, like, I'm pretty sure that's an arranged relationship with her and that football guy.
Yeah. That's sponsored by State Farm.
Like a good neighbor. State Farm is there. Yeah. Fuck.
Yes, and you see how they're slow rolling the end of the contract before our eyes in the media with that one.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the text between Taylor and Blake just solidified what a lot of people with discernment were gaslit for years and years when it came to both of them, right? Which is that they suck. Fundamentally, they are not nice girls, all right? Well, not nice ladies.
The female equivalent, though, of just how you were saying these guys that are wholesome, good guy image, but then they maybe aren't so nice after all. It's the same thing. Like, she's supposed to be this wholesome, the girl for the girls. Like, she's girls.
She's almost 40.
Fair, yeah, okay, I guess now. But the way that she was marketed, I'm getting old, too.
Like,
all right, now I'm feeling old. She's not 40. Like, come on.
Shit. We have this, like, perpetual image of Taylor. Isn't Taylor, like, 38?
I don't know. Maybe. You're probably right, but it's like, I'm getting old, man.
She's closer to 40 than she is anywhere else.
Okay, hold on.
I think Taylor Swift is almost 40.
You just reminded me, I do want to mention also the 2 of the red dots on the map. One yesterday and one today, both of them, they would have just turned 50. Jonathan Brandis today and Christopher Petziat yesterday would have been 50. And they both were lost way too soon. So just as a moment for them, just, I don't know, I'm just kind of made me think of it now. Because they're getting up there. It's like 50, holy shit. But man, like, imagine what they could have done through that whole time, you know? Yeah, it's a lot. It's just sad. It's sad. how many were lost along the way. But yeah, it's crazy too. Like I feel like that last like 5 years went by so freaking fast that it's like I'm waking up and I'm like, holy shit, am I this old now? Are people this old now? Like what the heck just happened to the time? It's like almost that was a dissociative fugue
I've
of
been
a
saying
moment, you
this
know.
whole year. I think they're turning the time up, y'all.
Yep.
Time in quotes. I think they're turning the time up on us, guys.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a little bit of the dissociation where you're like skipping time. But okay, so then talking about Adam Sandler, that movie Click, trying to say something that basically is almost describing a little bit of what dissociation is, about how you kind of fast forward or you pause or you like that way that it's a controlling of the situation. It's more within the mind. It's what the dissociation is, right? So I'm starting to pick up on more of that now too. Like the more I'm just like, so yeah, I'll do the Adam Sandler. I'm seeing the Adam Sandler. It is on my radar. I'm just not ready yet. You know, it's tough, but he's with the Big Eye Club also. I get it. I know. She's 36. Right. And she is only 36, okay? Fucking 40. I'm like, holy shit, is she already 40? There's no freaking way. That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but you know, Blake has also been caught in a couple lies too, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't know about these ages all the time.
I mean, yeah, who knows, right? Who knows if she's shaved off could be. But wow, that time's just been flying. It's been flying. But, like, she came out of the same pipeline kind of as the Miley Cyrus, which, just to circle back to that. And actually, I should mention...
Ryan Reynolds is a friend of Bryan Singer through Hugh Jackman. They're all besties.
Are they... Right, okay, we're going to definitely have to talk about that, because the Bryan Singer has been a big part of a lot of the research that keeps coming up.
Did you ever listen to the podcast Beyond the Blinds?
Maybe. I don't know. About Bryan Singer?
You have got, just in general, anybody, but they have it for Bryan Singer, they have it for Zac Efron, everyone.
I feel like, is it the blind, it's like a blind items? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they on?
The Blind Item podcast.
It's okay, that's not on TikTok?
No, it is on wherever you get podcasts.
Wherever you get, I don't know where you get podcasts. I'm a grandpa, apparently.
No,
I'll find it. I'll find it. I'm just making a note here. It's okay. I'm being silly. I'm not that old.
Yeah, Beyond the Blinds. And that's the biggest reason that my story time about Diddy initially went viral, is that one of the hosts saw my story time and talked about it and shouted it out, and a bunch of people flooded over.
Oh, right on, yeah.
It resonated, that story time resonated with Troy, one of the hosts, and he was like, basically told their podcast about my story time or whatever. They all came and looked. And that's what really made it take off. And that's kind of a part of the catalyst about the board, is that I hadn't ever had a podcast that like people were as interested in the blinds and were interested in nostalgic and loved media, loved pop culture, but also saw, you know, all of it, right? And I'm also somebody that resonated. Another figure was Kyle, right? A flawed person, but Kyle was also a blind item reader. Kyle Marissa, who passed away too. She was talking about J-Lo a lot. It was you know, you want more? I'll give you more.
Oh, yeah. That was coordinated. That was a whole...
That's its own rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. Well, we're going to circle back to that one for sure.
You know what I mean? But these are the people that, that I had, you know, resonated with me because nobody was really talking about it like that. Check out the podcast.
Too. Oh, shit. And I was wrong. It was yesterday and the day before for Jonathan Brandis and Chris Petiot. But that actually, her passing, it was like right around this time of year, I think, too, wasn't it? Hold on. I got to look this up now. But that was a situation where
Kyle.
She was going
on. Rest in peace, Kyle. I hope she's back, you know, with her daughter.
Peace, power, and paradise. She was going for the jugular.
I mean, Kyle was very flawed, too. Like, Kyle, you know, Kyle wasn't a perfect victim, but a targeted individual nonetheless.
Big time.
Yeah. And I resonated with Kyle, but Troy, basically sent a bunch of people his podcast over to my story time, and that's basically where I ended up with all these people. And I'm like, hey, because they're like, oh, it's bigger than Diddy, and I'm like, let me tell you, it's bigger than Diddy, you know, and that's kind of how the Pandora's box opened. But go into those blind items, you'll get into Bryan Singer, Zac Efron, and it really kind of like kicked up a lot of what I had already remembered, right?
Yeah.
But you remember the reaction to me, there was a visceral reaction to when I did my take of Blink Twice and Zoe Kravitz and her proximity to the machine of it all.
Yeah.
And then Madonna and Sean Penn.
Yes.
And
yeah, I added them, by the way. I have them
Yeah.
now. I got them in here, and I connected them back to the other stuff. But that's the only problem now, is because there is so many connections. Certain people, like they need to be on both sides of the map at the same time. And how do you work that around when there's already the other connections, right? So they're kind of just tossed in here, but there is a lot going on there too. Like that, we could do a whole one just on them also. Yeah. Where she's a bigger dot, obviously, but where is he? Oh, he's just a little guy over here. There is so many other things going on there. Oh, I did connect that over the milk. There's other stuff I got to connect it to, so it's not fully, but he's got his spot here, and she's just above, because I had to connect it up to the music industry. But he's got all his little friends too, the Brat Pack guys. I found the spot that it's gonna fit, at least, and he's there now. But there's still so many little connections to make in there. Yeah. Well, there we got our next 10 episodes figured out.
Zoe lied to everyone when she said that she spent 7 years writing Blink Twice at the peak of when people were really also talking about the E-Files before now, right? Like when it was really in conversation. And you mean to tell me?
She has to play stupid to an extent. Like Orlando Brown. Like, look what Orlando Brown did. While he was saying so many truths, he was acting a fool. But then he comes back with his, like, little Christmas pictures from, like, last year or something. And it's like, got him. You know, he was like playing a little part the whole time, because he's been totally normal the whole time.
Type of character, right?
Not necessarily like that, but how
she is an ordained
they have
messenger,
to play something.
in my opinion.
They have exactly but in a way where
like
she has to play a little dumb.
Role.
She's playing a little dumb, but maybe she knows what she's doing,
or
but
she
not
is
acknowledging.
Dumb, right?
Maybe.
Like you could look at it from multiple angles. She could be aware or only aware of what she's aware.
Yeah, you're funny. Sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, like, she could be.
Well, you know more than I do on that one.
She could be playing dumb.
Yeah. Naive,
but
like
to
woefully
say
naive.
I would say she wasn't exposed.
I would say woefully naive. You know, just to. That's fine. You could think she's dumb. I don't care. I'm not going to censor you.
No, I don't think she's dumb. I'm just saying, like, I'm just using that word that you're
fair.
I know. Like, you said she's playing dumb, and I'm like, okay, yeah, she could
then
be
she's
playing
fucking dumb. Yeah,
but.
Like playing it as like
I don't think that she's
as a
dumb.
protection.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. I know. All right. As
I'm
protection.
not removing her agency. I'm saying that, like, I think she could be very aware, right? I could think she could be playing a role and only letting on that she's aware of so much.
But if you're gonna go that far, why not?
Level,
why not go all the way though? You've already come this far.
But she didn't go. But
she didn't.
But the thing
You're right.
is that.
Yeah.
She didn't go anywhere. She didn't go anywhere with that movie, and I think that that's the biggest trick of that. That's the parlor trick of Blink Twice.
Okay, this is messy, but this is the Brittany Murphy. This is why. Because within the Brittany Murphy sphere with Diddy and everyone, like, I gotta clean this up and put it together and get it on the other maps for my final Brittany Murphy episode to put it all together here. But the amount of deaths within this little sphere and how they all interconnect and how all the people, like, that's why. Because she is too close, and if she says too much, too loudly, she will be a red dot. That's the reality.
They're not going to take out Lenny's daughter when Lenny's in it.
They weren't going to take out Michael Jackson, and, like, I don't know, maybe,
but that's a different ballgame. She's more useful where she's at with the level of understanding that she has.
And playing within that is more helpful to her. So, I mean, I just, I don't know. I don't know enough
it benefits her to get along with the get-along. So it's like...
So how much is that, guilty by association to that point? Yeah.
She, to me, is almost more dangerous than Naomi. Because at what point is Naomi trying to pretend to be some type of messenger? But she's told us a lot.
I mean, fair. And I mean, at least she's a little more on the surface, like you kind of know what she's about, where I'd rather somebody show me who they are up front. If you're evil, and at least I know what to expect from you. But if you're playing under the guise of good and you're putting on this facade and playing this part when you're like, but you're the most evil,
is she putting on a facade? She groomed Jaden Smith in front of everyone.
Oh, that's true. See, I don't know as much about this side as you do with that. I just know with what the Blink Twice was trying to say and where it connects back to some things I've been trying to talk about for years and had a great struggle in doing so, right?
I think that it's an important piece of media. That's what I'm saying, is that, like, there's a lot in it. I just don't give her all the credit for it.
Okay,
right?
I didn't
Like,
realize that with the Jaden Smith thing. That changes everything. Because then she is
you
just
know what
as
I
much
mean?
a party.
And I mean, she was
rather than
besties with Alexander Wang.
Okay, see, well, this changes some things. She's saying it, but she's also kind of...
I'm gonna repost that video. I think I might still have that one, or maybe I did repost it, or I might have it.
I'll have to,
in the queue on YouTube. I don't know. I think the Blink Twice one got deleted, but I might have had the Sean Penn Madonna one. But I think I'm gonna remake the Blink Twice one, because when you lay her all out, yeah, you have to take in how her parents neglected her, but allowed her into the machine early, right?
Yeah.
How she was, you know, reported to be visibly high, going to parties and all of that in New York, when she decided that she didn't want to be with her mom, who had left Hollywood, was trying to keep her away from it for reasons, you know, proximity, what Lisa Bonet was, you know, exposed to, what we can speculate happened to her.
Right.
You know what I mean? That pushed her out of the spotlight. I look at her like a Winona Ryder. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways.
Oh, we can go on that deep too. Yep. Sorry, continue.
You know
That's
what I
another
mean?
big
Maybe
one for
not
me.
necessarily as talented or having opportunities, but like similar personalities and experiences and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Where
Fair.
they're like in Hollywood, they don't want to be, you know, ushered out completely or completely decimated, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, but, you know, Zoe's talked about, you know, choosing to go live with her dad, wanting to be in that lifestyle. We know what we know and can figure out and research about Lenny and his connections. And then what she did as an adult when she did have agency, right? And then with Blink Twice, I think she could have been handed something. I mean, Nepo baby out of control. Maybe she put her own sprinkle on it. I don't think that came from her. And we know, and we have the CIA documents. We know how these scripts get tainted.
That's fair. And it's like, in some ways,
Who
it's
manipulate?
predictive programming. They have to tell us what they're doing, so it's like a karma
The
thing,
same reason
right?
why we got Leave the World Behind is why we got Blink Twice. Prime people for certain things. Let's show you in media planes falling out of the sky before we make planes fall out of the sky.
Yeah, well, then they have this, like, preparing us for all the alien stuff supposed to be coming, because, like, with Iceberg doing his Age of Disclosure, and then everybody's spamming his little ads for that, his trailer for it. Like, yeah, is it that everyone's into kids or whatever, pretty much? Like, everybody kind of started trolling him. Because, like, yeah, you get an Age of Disclosure from Hollywood. We don't care about the aliens. We know there's aliens now. We want to know who the sickos are.
Yeah, don't
keeping this
blue
evil
beam.
sicko.
We don't need any blue beam. We're prepared for that.
Yeah, you know. Okay, so let's, I guess, take another couple ones here, or I don't know if you, like, if
Yeah,
you
I'll
want
let
to
you
do
do
that,
that.
or whichever. I guess, well, I'm kind
You
of
go,
curious
Captain.
about this. I would actually curious, like, I guess we've kind of talked about it, but River Phoenix, I guess, they it's a loaded question. They said, of the real cause, did you think that it's, they did it on purpose, and what reason? Like, it's a loaded question, but just what do you think about River Phoenix? Because this one's been a big one for me too, as like from the beginning coming full circle. So I'll let you have it. Okay.
It's a little convoluted in my opinion, but I think it's important to understand that when you have talent, when you have property, right, that you can exploit and extract resources from, and you have rivalries. So who was handling Leo? Who was handling the It Boys? Who would want the It Boy they had control over? Who would want access? Who would want to seize power in a vacuum? That's kind of how I see River, right? Of if I'm going to get conspiratorial, right? Because we have instances in adjacent industries, but in general of this happening. Like, take out this one, we can put this one in play, and this benefits these people, right?
Right.
And I think there's always something that I always err on is, you're not going to dupe me by saying, oh, it was an OD, or oh, he was on drugs. It's like, well, that's the scariest and easiest way, because that's how they can control you, one, as they're working you, but that's also how they can take you out, right? And when you know he came from trauma, came from a system factory like a cult, high control, trauma. We know the information from where River came from, right? And then you take him into entertainment, a glamorous, gilded version of a high control group cult, and then expanding from there. And then the dependency, the self-medication, the coping, and then the exploitation and the vying for power, the Game of Thrones, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And him being immensely talented on top of it. And when I think of River Phoenix, I think of Heath Ledger.
Yes, that I'm going into that at some point also. That's a big one.
So that's mine. So you give yours.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, you know what, honestly, like, and this is sort of where a lot of stuff started and ended right now. Like, it's, some of my earliest Dark Hollywood videos were sort of, like, going around this situation and exploring it. Like, I did Johnny Depp, and then I did Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then it was basically going around this situation without really focusing on it, if that even makes sense, just to really study all the people around.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been on the fence for years because there's so many different. Was it a jealousy thing? Was it an opportunistic thing? Was it literally just an accident, like a Pulp Fiction moment, and they didn't get him to the front lawn with a thing, you know what I mean?
Like a butterfly effect.
I'm still so on the fence on that one, but because River Phoenix, I've been working on the whole TW Theory thing, and the Stand By Me is one of the most disturbing examples where they got all the little kids in undress, states of undress. Obviously, Feldman's talked about the Predator situation the whole time. Elijah Wood the whole time, and also has worked closely with Reiner. But River Phoenix was the star.
Demon.
Yes. But then River Phoenix had been in that Stand By Me, and he was in some other really questionable movies that was pretty much setting him up as a showcase, as he's up for order, basically. And when you start connecting, there's some repeated people around that it's... I don't know. I still don't know. And then with the Nick situation, I'm almost more apt to believe maybe that he had imploded and had overdone it. Because look at Nick overdone with doing the same drugs, doing the same struggles, the same thing, to the point that he was pushed over, allegedly, potentially, we don't really know for sure yet, but to killing Reiner. So not necessarily that Reiner himself is a bad person, but we can see that they're catering to certain fan clubs that are fans of these kids for a certain reason, and not because they're good little actors. Do you know what I mean? There's adults that are a fan, and they're buying these kind of photos from people like Bob Villard.
It's the evolution of the pageant is the family vlogger, right?
Yes.
And the kids content, right? Like the evolution of these systems of exploitation for parents to have children and commodify them and objectify them.
Right.
When I think of Reiner, right, I think it's important to circle back to what we mentioned, probably hours ago now. I'm like, this conversation is flying by. Sorry, guys. The Program to Kill by David McGowan, because when you read that, when reread it, right, or go back into it, it could be it blows it open even further.
I'm gonna have to
it could be isolated, and it could be like, okay, something happened to him, or they got access to Nick and were able to make Nick into a sleeper cell. Right.
The year that River died it was either the same year or just after River died, Nick was born. So there's that weird little thing there too, right? But sorry, continue. Yes, I agree.
But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? So whether or not Nick was fully exposed, maybe there were ways that, through neglect, through whatever, right? That he would be prone to self-medication, this, that, and the other, go to rehab. There's ways that it couldn't have been direct from Rob.
Well, think about this. Yeah, okay, so... Oh, no, I'm sorry. You continue, let you finish, but
I'm just saying, it could be Rob. We could make Rob the villain, or we could unmask him. He could be a John Ramsey, a Jose Menendez, or he could not be. I leave room for both.
Well, imagine your dad's not giving you enough attention, and he seems to be giving all these other kids so much attention, taking them on outings, taking them on little tours, doing all this stuff with them. They've talked about it, what they did with the kids on Stand By Me. It was all literally grooming. But all this stuff, he's putting all this attention to the kids, and then the son can't understand why he can't get his dad's attention in the same way. And maybe it's because, do you know what I mean? There's that other layer of what he's trying to get out of these other kids. You know, and then you get to an age where you start to realize
there is an
I'm gonna have
element
to.
of
Everyone's
this
talking
where
about
it shows.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, no wonder everyone's talking
In
about it.
Euphoria, there's a father-son dynamic that shows the kink, you know what I mean, the perversion of the father being exposed to the child, and how it's almost like, you know, he gets infected by the parasite of this perversion, and how it then consumes the son, and they play that out.
Interesting. Okay, maybe I do gotta watch this. I keep seeing stuff about it, and I'm like, oh my god, this freaking show. Like, why are they, like, what is even going on here?
You will be traumatized, you will be goofed, you'll be gagged, but I think you need to watch it because it does.
If you watch Dr. Sleep, I'll watch Euphoria. How's that?
Yeah, no,
okay,
you can go for both, and book reports on both, okay?
Deal.
Verbal reports on both.
Deal. But so yeah, like, that one's such a loaded, like, he's such a good example of this same pattern over and over again, I feel like, too, though. Like, that's why I feel like he ended up being kind of the starting point, because it could have been any of them. It could have been Brandis, it could have been Renfro, it could have been Petiet, it could have been any one of these kids, right? But he was such a, like, a conjecture between, I mean, that's not even the right word, like I don't know, like a collision almost, like a colliding of the two worlds of the entertainment industry, the cult aspect, and then how it was used so well in the narcissistic
an amalgamation of all of these things together on steroids.
It's, he's sort of just like, he's that benchmark of it, I guess, that it's, I don't know, I keep coming back to, but...
Somebody asked in the chat about the Committee 300 by John Coleman. That's actually on my list because I put a pin in that when I was looking into Candace Owens' in-laws. So yeah, I was getting deep in the British aristocracy, more, you know, revising all of that. But that's on my list. So did you read it? Do you like it?
I don't.
Because let me know.
I don't know about that one. I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna check that out because, like, I don't, like, there's so much stuff right now too that I'm missing out on because of the Reiner stuff. I circled all the way back to like the beginning, I guess, in a way, and now so much stuff has been happening since that it's like I'm almost missing out. But I'm still making progress in a way, so I'm trying. But yeah, like I don't know about that one. I'm gonna write that one down and check that out too, because like. That this is why we're doing this, right? Because there's stuff that as I'm doing my thing over here, you're missing out on, and vice versa. You're doing your thing over there, and I'm missing out on it.
In the middle.
Yeah, no. So this is why this is super important, and no, and I guess I didn't realize that Euphoria was like the way that some people have been talking about it. I thought it was making more of like a glorification of that side of those weird sides of the industry, but this is more like a Blue Velvet.
It's really gone downhill, but it was. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's something worth observing. I think that there's some elements that really speak to our society. Somebody connected it, you know, because I guess the source material, it's an adaptation of a Big Eye series, but you know, we have a cross-culture exchange, right?
Fair.
Like they took notes from America takes notes from them.
I saw that. I saw that and was like, it's propaganda.
So.
I saw that and I was like, oh, it's propaganda. I'm not watching it, but fair enough.
It is propaganda, but it's like, okay, what are you showing us? And then also, what does this reveal about us?
Yeah.
Right?
It sounds like a Blue Velvet, like a new age version of what David Lynch was trying to say with Blue Velvet. And people thought that shit was weird, but he was trying to say how weird the kinks and fetishes get. When you could literally have anything you want on a gold platter, like things get weird. It's like diminishing returns.
Yeah,
but then
and
how much weirder past
starts.
crime, right? Like till it gets to a point of a crime. Yeah. And then exactly how late do you start them? Like the sooner they start in on it, that's the one group. I could probably just start talking about it. Whatever. The NAMBLA. I've been trying to just avoid saying the name of it, but NAMBLA is something I've been kind of looking into and how it connects to everything within the sphere. But they basically say get in before 8, or it's too late or something like that. Like it's like this part of their fucking slogan is talking about how you got to start grooming them young, and that they believe because they're doing the act of grooming that it's an act of love because it's not a forced violent trespass. But that's not freaking right. Kids cannot consent.
And that's how
that's even more insidious, right?
Violent perpetrators believe. I know that's how. That's literally. I have documents to prove that's how my abuser thought.
Oh fuck. Well, there you go. Jesus. Murphy, like that's such a I Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry,
Courtney,
it's just like...
Wait, somebody, I just also saw somebody in there waking up Courtney Love. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's a whole time. I guess you're a little ahead. I was kind of coming down the line, but I guess you're maybe working up from the other side.
No.
That's perfect.
Keep
go ahead.
going
No,
where
go
you're
ahead.
at,
No,
you
go ahead. You go ahead on the next thing.
No,
I was
I'm just
trying...
saying, Courtney Love,
She's like a time.
I'm glad people are not believing the bullshit there.
Yeah, well, that's starting to come out. They're reopening it or something, and like they're starting to look at like that El Duce guy or something. What was his name? He was trying to say that she was trying to get a hit out on him like all that time ago, and then that guy disappeared or some crazy thing. Like that's a whole time. Mm-hmm. Kurt Cobain, Courtney Love. That's one that it's like. What did you say? Like the Moby Dick of it all, when it's like I'm saving that one for later, But yeah, no, people are waking up to it though. I've been noticing more people, and her and Drew were pretty close. So there's another point for you against Drew. So shit, we might be.
Well, yeah, and I mean, but
it's good. Like I need to learn all of this stuff, right? Too. It's got to be neutral.
I look at Drew sympathetically, like I look at Selena, like I look at most of these characters in front of us. I'm like, they're surrounded by handlers. Like, whether or not they become a handler, I still feel for them. Like, even though some of these people, I'm like, you're close to the handlers, you're aware of the handlers, and you're just not stable enough to be a full-fledged handler. And you're being, utilized in other ways, like where you're not like literally somebody's handler. But I'm like, it's hard for me when it comes to like Selena, Justin, all of these people, Drew. But for me, I'm like, regardless, they're surrounded by people I can say you're a de facto handler.
Fair enough. Like maybe I need to change the color. That's such a tough one though, because it's like I think she's still coming to terms with what was even a wrong thing that happened to her as a kid. So I think that over time she's overlooked a lot of things, but it's because she hadn't even realized. Yeah, but those people are
dangerous as hell.
For sure, you're right. Yeah, like I just it's this is where the conflicting feelings come because the victim.
But the thing is that don't change any color until you're ready.
But that's what makes it dangerous.
I feel like
you're right though. That's what makes it dangerous is because she. Well, I don't even know which color I'd put here because it's not really one or the other. I think she's into both anyway, right? But, and she's not necessarily like a perpetrator. Like, I'm still working out the coding for these more wild card people because, she's such like a, like, you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong at all. I'm not disagreeing. That's where it conflicts for me is that it's like, and then that's also what makes it dangerous. So, like I said, is because. And that's part of the program, though, is that a lot of them don't even realize how bad their own childhood was, let alone to be able to protect the kids around them when they have the opportunity to do so. And then by the time they even realize, it's almost too late, or they run them out of the business, or whatever other things happen to them, right? So that's where I feel like she's playing a really, like, Russian roulette with her career and her life and the situation at the same time as she's waking up to it more and then wanting to speak at it more. She's bringing more of the target on herself. But I don't know. I'm like, this is why I've kind of put it to the side, too, right?
And that's why I feel like this is such a philosophical question because it's never done yet. It's never done. That's why I'm like, I'm okay with us, like, just mulling it over and coming back because I'm like, to me, it's never ending.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. Well, then that's it, too, right? We literally, any one of these
until we can explicitly nail these people to the wall, a lot of it is just like, we're in a soup of it, a soup of complicity.
Yeah, it's true. And then I already kind of know. I'm setting it up around her. All this darkness, she's right here with it. She's a big note in it. So it's like, I do know. Part of me knows. Yeah. And we're going to get there. And with where she plays in with the Brittany Murphy and like how it all connects back in with Adam Sandler and Hawaii. And I know I'm getting there. I promise. I'm just...
Okay, wait. Somebody asked in the chat about the Charlie Kirk of it all.
Okay, go for it.
As a Canadian, no, because I abstained as much as possible.
Yeah,
from
me
that
too.
Situation.
I thought that was a great big distraction. I feel like it's like make-believe reality TV in real life kind of thing, like the way they're orchestrating it and the way the drama's unfolding after. I feel like it's all just like, this is just all distracting. It's a distraction. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I tried to talk honestly about it, and I saw how the algorithm reacted on TikTok, and I was like, oh, I know what's going on here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, shifting the narrative. See,
you guys
get
aren't
it.
serious, so, So I know, like, if I really care about it, I'm going to talk about it on YouTube or, you know, some of the stuff. I'm like, that'll be on Patreon behind a paywall because
Yeah.
that's scary stuff.
I think, well, you know what I will say, that I find
It'll
it
be in a vault.
interesting. Yes, no, and I agree. Like, I only want to say so much about it too, but I will say I find it interesting, the location, because that is a very heavily programmed state of the matter. Like, the Mormons
very
of it all.
Masonic.
Yeah. That, like, that's the whole thing. We don't even have to get into it right now. But the controlling bodies of with religion too it's almost like it's its whole own thing too. But it all plays a part. It all plays into the overall control and the way that they go about it and keeping people divided, but very like sardines in a way of their minds and thinking, and the way that they. I don't know, it's a very Wonder Breadland thing going on over there, and I just think it's interesting that that's where they chose to do it, because it would be very easy for them to just tell everyone, nope, that's not what happened, you didn't see what happened, this is what happened, okay, bye, you know, like Men in Black type shit. Click, flash, you forget now. Because we told you to, right?
Yeah. And I feel like the Charlie Kirk was a programming test of like, what can we get you to pair it along with? What can we normalize? How can we desensitize you? There's just so much. Yeah.
Like there's
so much there.
Exactly. Like there is a lot more to it if we wanted to pick it apart. That I could, we could do that. But I feel like overall, it did what it intended to do, and it has got a lot of people thinking that they're following the trail, that they're going down a rabbit hole, but if anything, they're running around a track, like their horses on a track, running a little race and following it along, and nobody's getting anywhere, you know. And that's the sad thing, because I feel like things like that's where they're able to, like, any people that are freshly awakening and can't tell what is a distraction, what's not, they're very easily roped into that shit, and they'll eat up all of it, and then they're missing all the really important stuff around them, right? Not that that's not important too, because the situation's kind of messed up, and it does matter too, but you know what I'm saying. That was kind of messed up, like how they pulled it. Like, I'm still too, just like seeing how blatant they're getting about certain things is like, I'm kind of scared of what the next phase may or may not be.
That was scary last year for me. Yeah. I think I've gotten my like foot under me a little bit with that, but I felt that way last year for sure.
Well, it's closer to home for you too, like being in the U.S. I get to be in Canada. I get to be a little more further removed, right? So, true. Yeah, I feel that though, like in your, like that's, it just shows what they're willing, you know.
Give me some homework. So I have to watch Dr. Sleep. All right.
Homework,
You
Dr.
need
Sleep.
to start season 1 of Euphoria.
Okay.
You need to kind of get into what they're programming.
Yes. Okay. I'm marking this down too, because I forgot to write down Euphoria, but I'm gonna do. I keep seeing it everywhere. I can't forget about it. They keep posting about it, but just in case, I wrote it down. Okay, Euphoria.
Rita Ora, Miranda Kerr, Orlando Bloom.
You know what I'm gonna send you? I forgot to mention. I found that book. That book I was showing you way back when, The Bluebird, that I said it was really hard to find, and I couldn't even find it online digitally. I found it. I just didn't know where to send it to you, because it wasn't gonna let me on the thing. So I'm gonna. No, and it's it's almost perfect timing too, to be honest, for what and with everything, you know, with the Dave like, I feel like you've already got the prerequisites so far out of the way, like you're so ready. It's and I got to read that. That's my homework.
I know. Has everyone in the chat
I got to read both of them.
Program to Kill?
Yeah, can we give them homework too? Like, because I was gonna say I got to read both of them, because I started the other one too, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I gotta reorganize. The Laurel Canyon, and I do have both of them. Okay, good. I want to finish that one too, because I feel like there's so much there that obviously there's reason you've been telling me, and then I did. I started them. I'm getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, so everybody else too, though. This is some reading material for the next session. Or whatever, like, for sure, why not? We can give them homework. We can do whatever we want.
Extended episode, yeah.
What else? You go ahead. What else should they watch or read? You know some good stuff this way, like, that I wouldn't necessarily think to. So what is your suggested reading while I'm thinking of some other stuff for homework for you?
Actually, let me... I think I have a list. Yes. I mean, it just depends. Like,
Yeah, like that's what I'm thinking. I'm looking
where-
down my list of like
right?
the current reading material, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably like I might just send you some stuff, and if you can just whatever start where you want.
I also have been on a side quest, a simultaneous. I'm always on multiple side quests. I've been going deep in the Medicis because I'm also, hey, multitudes. I'm writing a book,
Ooh.
on a historical fiction, but more, historical leaning, like
basing on facts.
about-
Okay, cool. Love it.
Yeah.
The Italian Medici.
Yeah,
banking.
yeah, getting into the Medicis
Okay,
and
okay.
going into a branch. But, doing the research for the novel has me, really deep in the Medicis, seeing the inception of the Jesuit order, and, early banking, just
On
so many
crime
elements.
families,
So,
the organized crime
Yeah.
being around, all of that
Dynastic
is
families.
important. Yes, that's cool. So you did start one. You were saying you were wanting, like, okay, we'll have some
Yeah.
stuff to catch up on too, I guess, on the next one. But if you're starting to do the writing, what do you got planned? I guess were you gonna just do like a full screen version of your board of entertainment introduction, or what do you?
Yeah. So I think we're gonna, kind of open the floor. I think kind of showing the scope of the board and kind of like where it is now, kind of like, is where I'm planning to go. So yeah, stay tuned for that, you guys. Just kind of like reopening it and letting, it go from there. I think I'm going to kind of clean up some of the videos I did, the videos on TikTok that were talking about the Baltimore Bridge or Mitch McConnell, and, his ties to China espionage and how that connects.
Yep.
And how, some of these various, domestic T-word events have gone down. Mario's brother.
Oh, that's what you were saying before. You weren't trying to say trauma. You're saying the other thing, and yeah, maybe we don't say that word. Yeah. The
Yeah,
terror
no,
of it all.
exactly.
Yes.
So,
yes. Okay.
But
Sorry.
how all of these things are kind of connected. But on my channel, I plan on talking about the current events, but also connecting them to history. I will be sharing the research that I have coming when it comes to the Medicis, all of that. So do expect
Excellent.
that content. And like, I'm going to clean up some of the old stuff because I really do want to talk about just kind of the connections when I was talking about the Cabbage Patch Kids of the deep state. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I want to
right on.
kind of do maybe a book review after Tez gets a little bit more into Program to Kill. We can come back, but I think I'm going to do a book review kind of about that one.
Oh, we can do like a book club. Everybody go read it. We're doing book
Yeah.
club now.
Yeah.
if you want to,
So,
if you want to join
I think
along.
we should kind of keep that
Why
going.
not?
I'm going to hold people accountable.
Yeah, why not? Why not? And we'll get to
Do the research with us, guys. Independent studies. So yeah, I'm going to be posting on YouTube. I'm not going to be posting on TikTok as much. I'm just so suppressed there. I think they got my IP address or something. So I'm going to be dusting off for a hiatus on Patreon, but focusing mostly on YouTube to start out. Tez has me in YouTube boot camp. So
yeah, here we go.
that's what you'll
real
see from
this
me
time.
very soon. YouTube is going to be my main platform, and I got to put all my creativity and all my brain power in one place, and I think YouTube will be the best place. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no.
Letting me hijack the chat, y'all.
No, I'm glad we got to do this and get like a proper one, because that other one ended up so wonky. And you have so many good things to share, and it is all very important and relevant to the now. And I'm glad you're recharged and ready for action for this, because I think you've got the good sauce. As
I know,
far
and we
as,
get on fire when we start talking, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be better, guys. Like being in front and also remembering that you guys are trying. Like it's not just Tez and I connecting our brains, but we're also here with you guys. So bear with me. I will.
Oh, it's good. We had a lot to cover, and it's
dial
fine.
in.
It's fine.
And I think next time I'm gonna wear headphones because I think that might help a little bit of my delay, because I know I have ADHD, but I don't think that I think there is a little bit of a delay that has me sometimes not hear you, and so you'll start talking and then I start talking and stuff. So I'll work on that, guys.
Yeah.
But thank you for your patience, for real. Dealing with this neurodivergent mind meetup.
Yeah, maybe it will be, like you'd said, maybe to have you on the computer also. Like, I thought it was mainly just my side, but I think, yeah, you know, we're getting too close to the, I don't know, getting more united and getting closer to more of the truth, more together at the same time. So I feel like this is when you start having weird shit happen. You have people trying to attack you. You have the internet start doing weird stuff. So if, yeah, maybe for next time, I'm always trying to do improvements too.
Sane when you say that, because I'm like, hey, thank you for, let's normalize that they got us wired. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
Your chat is so brilliant. So smart. I have written down quite a few recommendations from you guys. I'm just super impressed. I'm super excited. You guys are brilliant. Really, I'm like, yes, this is so refreshing.
I told you.
TikTok to YouTube.
I told you that like, you needed.
Oh, we got geniuses
it.
over here.
It's not even. They're just. This is how normal people should be. This is just normal. Like this should be the commonplace of intelligence, but it's not, unfortunately. But we do. We have a very smart group.
And I mean, I've got to give them their credit.
Definitely,
it's refreshing.
It is. I knew you would. I knew you'd enjoy it because, like, I know what you're dealing with usually on the regular over there, and just in between. So I'm so glad that we got to do this, and we got more planned, and that you're getting the good taste of what it can be like for you too. Cause like we can get you set up and doing your own lives in no time too. Just once you start getting the hang of it, and we'll get you. I got like a couple little pointers,
you believe in me, and
but you're doing everything right.
I've surrendered. The shine is above me. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna talk to you soon. I will debrief with you later, Tess. Yeah. Thank you, chat. I'll never hang up if I don't hang up right now.
Yes, no, go for it. Have a great night. Cheers.
Shine on. Bye.
Bye. Alrighty, guys. Yeah, we're gonna wrap her up. It ended up running a little longer, but it was really great chat. It was good that we were able to get a little bit of redo on there and then go deeper on everything. So I'm sorry to anybody if I missed your questions, but we're going to definitely do this again soon, and you guys got your homework anyway, so you know what you're doing. But yeah, if you didn't get your question and you guys want to ask next time, just come around next time. I think we'll try to do a little more interacting with the chat and take more questions, but I kind of do that anyway usually, is like do the presentation first, and then I kind of go back and I catch up in the chat, but there was definitely a lot to cover, and being that she was the inspo for the mind map, there was like so many things to touch on to decide and figure out what we can where we can go next on it, and where she wants to start working on from her side, right? So I think it'll be great to see what else she comes up with, and so yeah, make sure you go over, subscribe. All her links are in the description. Keep an eye out for her new stuff, and give her some hypes, and just help boost her along and get her going, because it is hard getting started nowadays on the platform, and especially when you're trying to do it the right way, when you're investigating instead of regurgitating, and you're kind of going against the grain as a independent journalist for the truth, So if everybody can show some support, and yeah, I think that's everything. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to mention, but if you guys, yeah, I'm just looking. Hold on. Yeah, I think that was it. I don't know. But we can leave it at that anyway. If I forgot anything, we'll catch it in the next round anyways, right? So, because it's never ending, like she said. It's a never ending thing. Like, I could go on forever, too. Like, I kind of started trying to keep them within 2 hours, because there was a couple we did, and they ended up going to, like, 4 or 5 hours. And that's probably a little bit, like, we want to keep them bite-sized enough. So, thank you, guys, and everybody, for joining, and for all the support and the great conversation. It's in the description. In the description. Here, actually, I'll drop the link so you guys can jump right over there. It should have been firing off. The timer, I noticed in between there, for whatever reason, the thing wasn't firing off to drop the link in the chat. It was supposed to do that, but that's okay. We'll figure it out for next time. I'm still kind of new to having the guests and stuff too, right? So as I'm learning and as we're going, I'll be making improvements, and we'll figure it out better each time. And like she was saying with the headphones thing, like there's still a little bit of that delay there, and that's kind of what was happening before. It was like, I don't know, it's fine. We'll work through it. But thanks again, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Until next time. This video has been brought to you by Patreon, where I post more info, resources, bonus, and uncensored content. Everything is free to all members. Paid members just get early access, and some other features and benefits. It's mainly just a way to support the cause, stay informed with behind-the-scenes updates, and there is a public chat. I share all other news and updates outside of my body of work to the Eyes Wide Open group and over on Twitter. Everything mentioned and more can be found in the description. Lastly, make sure to like, hype,
share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the flip side.
Red bricks crumble under my feet, a path that whispers a cursed heartbeat. Shadows stretch long, they